the Smart Cities and Services Improvement Committee. Great to see everyone. Hope your day is going well. I'm looking forward to our packed agenda today. Really excited to get into the strategic plan and a few other important items. Thanks to the members of the public who are attending. And as always, you can participate during public comment by raising your hand if you're on Zoom, or dialing *9 if you're dialing in by phone. Rob, am I turning it over to you to give a quick overview?
Yes, sir. I will leap right in. So good afternoon, Chairperson Mahan, Mayor Liccardo.
This is Yasmin. Do we have to take roll first?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, why don't we do that? Thanks, Yasmin.
Foley?
Here.
Liccardo?
Present.
Jones?
Present.
Cohen?
Here.
Mahan?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm super excited about our agenda today. So good afternoon, Chairperson Mahan, Mayor Liccardo, committee members, and members of the public. I'm Rob Lloyd, Chief Information Officer for the City of San Jose. This month, staff will present to the committee 3 items. Under agenda item D1, we have part 2 of the 2021 through 2023 Information Technology Strategic Plan that was continued from last month's meeting. This is the city's proposed strategic direction, including the strategic plan with feedback incorporated, and is recommended for approval and referral to City Council. Jerry Dreesen, Assistant CIO, and I will present on that item. Following that one is item D2, which is Michael Foster, our Division Manager for the city's Portfolio Products Projects Office, and he's going to provide a status update on the city's major technology and innovation initiatives. And we'll conclude today with item D3 on the city's digital services status by a team from Human Resources, Communications, and the IT department. This will be a report on the city's transition to coordinated service delivery across in-person and online, mobile phone, and assistive modes, including status of Powered by People 2.0 efforts and the digital services roadmap. So with that, let me go ahead and share our presentation, and Jerry will kick us off. Can everyone see it okay? All right, cool. Jerry?
Sure, thanks, Rob. Chairperson Mahan, Mayor Liccardo, committee members, members of the public, I'm Jerry Dreesen. I'm the Assistant Chief Information Officer for the city. We want to provide some background today on the formation of our strategic plan. We can go ahead and go to the next slide and talk about how our strategic plan fits within the IT strategic plan, actually supports the city roadmap, also ties to our annual IT work plan, and then results in our employee goals that we set for our IT employees as well, to ensure that IT delivery is at the forefront of how we deliver services in the city, and that we have parity across the board in how we prioritize what we invest in and how we deliver technology. Next slide. And so every 3, in this case 4 years, we collect a lot of input and position ourselves for the next round of strategic planning. And so in this cycle, we interviewed all department directors, we interviewed the city manager, council, and we also brought in IT experts. And that forms our strategic plan, then the makings of which you'll see the recommendations towards the end, which Rob will provide, and how we map that to our strategic direction for our next year, which also then ties to how we resource our strategies moving forward in execution, and then how we assess and analyze and provide metrics on whether we were successful. Next slide. And here are the inputs that we pulled together to form our strategic plan. And so again, we talked about interviews with CMO, department heads, and then committee and council, audits. So a lot of written materials also guide us in findings of the auditor, trends from external, and that ties to the expert advisor that we brought in. And then also we brought in an expert, Harvard our Harvard Business School community partners, who helped us form our digital services strategy as well. And then moving over to the right-hand side, we talk about how that then guides our strategies and our governance approach and our resource plan, and our measurements as well. Next slide. And so what did we hear from our customers? And so one of the things when Rob and I did the interviews together, we saw a great deal of consistency across the board in the following themes. So equity will reshape the city and our departments. The new normal for communication, work, and collaboration, hybrid work, is going to be a significant factor moving forward that we must plan for and build into how we reshape and redesign our services. And we also need to harness data for decision making. The last thing that we heard is departments, the city is going to need IT more than ever, and they need more of it. And doing that, and we'll talk a little bit about a digital strategy, that also drives then cybersecurity and the importance of our efforts towards protecting the city's data and its IT assets. Next slide. So a little bit about the external consultant that we brought in. Infotech is a research group based out of Toronto, Canada, but they're one of top 3 in IT industry that looks at trends and themes in the IT industry, both government and private sector. And so we did an RFP, brought them in to work with us on actually doing research and studying technology trends to make sure that our strategic plan was guided by those as well. Next slide. And one of the things they did was actually pull data from budgets across large cities from the U.S. And so what this graph shows here is that while San Jose is the 10th largest city in the US, they actually did a budget comparison and showed that the amount of money that we spend on IT in relation to our population, while we're the 10th largest city, we're actually amongst the lowest 3 in terms of how much we spend on IT. And actually a direct quote that when they presented at a last Smart Cities committee that is worth mentioning again, no local government has a record of higher achievement per dollar of technology investment than the city of San Jose. And I think we know that in the work that we do, that we produce a lot with our IT resources, but we're resourced pretty low. Next slide. So the other thing that Infotech helped us with is actually focusing on the themes for where we need to go in the future. And really we need to focus on enabling and being a solution provider as the city transforms and moves to more digitization, personalization of services for our residents and making that tie to resident services. And as we re-engineer our services, we need to really focus on the resident and also tie in equity into that as well. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit. And then, of course, as we digitize those services, building cybersecurity into everything we do. And lastly, of course, is continuation of our IoT efforts to create smart government for the future. And so priority 1 that was recommended by Infotech was to support the city equity initiatives. And really what this means is focusing on vulnerable residents first, with the understanding that by raising the level of access for those who are struggling the most, we actually make outcomes better for all. And we also need to partner internally to be an effective partner. It's of course not IT alone doing equity, but partnering with many departments to actually change the way we deliver services. And then also partnering with our communities and our CBOs and our non-government groups, and working hard to reshape how we provide supports, both in IT format and how we educate our community and raise digital equity and digital literacy for our residents as well. The second finding is related to managing our hybrid organization, and this is really about creating flexibility in our internal mechanisms, how we work, how we do our work, and then also changing our culture and focusing on innovation and how we attract and retain our employees. And we'll talk a little bit more about that during our digital strategy presentation later today. And then priority 3. Next slide, Rob, is double down on digital. So if we talk about reshaping government, re-engineering our business processes, and also building equity in, what Infotech said was, don't just invest in digital services, it actually becomes your lever for change. So double down on digital, focus hard on it as a strategy moving forward, so that we can bring about the really the service delivery model in the government of the future. And out of this came two very specific recommendations. So going back to the slide that talked about our leanness, what Infotech said was, given that leanness and the city's resources, we really need to focus on consolidation and federation more in the city, and making sure that we optimize our technology investment across the board in the city. And then related to that is also to consider a public safety technologies division. So the importance of technology for police and fire and emergency management is such that we have to make sure that investment is made consistently and is really optimized across the board. And what the recommendation was to start to bring that approach together instead of having three different technology approaches across those three important arms of public safety, that we actually bring that together into a consistent division. And so I'm going to hand it off to Rob now, who's going to talk about how we are going to recommend making it all happen.
The instructive process of a strategic plan is in itself extremely valuable. And what it showed us in this sprint of a strategic plan is, more than ever, the city actually has some shared clarity about what we need to accomplish. And that came from the city roadmap. It came from the pandemic and all the activities, came from the EOC focus areas that we've had. So this is actually kind of a special moment in the city's history, that the IT plan was informed by departments that had high agreement amongst themselves. And so what you're going to see in the next few slides are the recommended IT strategic plan for the next 2.5 years, and where we would define where we're going and how it's going to steer how we shape our resources, and ask in the budget process for additional resources, how we structure our services and our technologies, and so forth. Number one, we want to start off with our new vision and mission. So for us, the next 2.5 years will be entirely about enabling departments and building on the success of our Brilliant at the Basics strategic plan of the previous 4 years. And so this mission puts it into one sentence, what we're going to try to accomplish. And it's to put the solutions, the information, and the tools in the hands of our organization so that we can unleash their brilliance in service to our community. And it's partly a recognition that IT doesn't deliver services directly oftentimes, but we make one person look like 3 or 5 or 10, or give people the right information to make better decisions and optimize their decisions. But also now more than ever, to connect the community to service portals where they can get to the services they need, no matter previous limits of connectivity or language or demographics. This is our chance to really build forward. And so what we've defined is 5 strategic pillars to steer us over the next 2.5 years. Number one, and this you'll see matches the input that we receive from the departments and from council and committee, as well as validated by the Infotech consultancy and their advisory services and their research, was number one for us, that's going to reshape us the most, is enabling equity. This is also the more amorphous piece of the strategic pillar, because we have a lot of definition to do with departments. And then as we define what needs to happen, what kind of technology tools, what kind of data we need to give them so that they can improve their services, make the better decisions, see and reach people that maybe we've missed in the past. Number two, and this is kind of core to everything that we're hearing and seeing today, is building a secure and resilient city. We see more risk today than we've ever seen before, and we see more of our peer cities, peer counties, peer organizations, the states, getting taken down in significant ways and their services impaired. And so we need to continue that investment and that seriousness and unrelenting dedication to building security and resilience in all of our service sets. Number three is we need to optimize, and this is something that we focused more on based on the Infotech feedback, is with the resources that we have, with the community saying we need you more than ever, with the community also saying we have fewer resources in the future to do that with because of the structural deficit in the budget. The main lever you get to pull are technologies and tools that allow you to close the gap when you can't throw money and people at problems. And so this optimization and getting resources to get maximum return is going to be a key factor in how successful we are in the next 2.5 years. Number four is digital, in the sense that there is now a digital workforce and a digital public. And both have different expectations of what's normal and what's better and what's going to be required now and into the future. And we have to build those tools so that people can work with each other, collaborate, and do the work of the city and the work that our community really needs of us. The fifth one is actually probably the most special in one way, because this is the kind of secret sauce that San Jose has that a lot of our peers really look to us as leaders for. Because if you look over the last 4 years, all of our great successes, every single one of them is defined by an internal partnership and an external partnership, where we've worked really well with others to kind of reinvent services in a number of areas, and then to improve services in others. But that ability to procure and to partner is something that's very special to San Jose, and we need to augment that and really lean on that in the future. We won't have the resources to invest that, like some cities and counties can probably throw resources at problems. We solve it by partnering with others and getting those same resolutions. So this is a kind of an eye chart of a slide. Please don't look too deeply into it unless you want to. The most important thing to take away from this slide are the sides and the top green stack. Often technology plans, and this was actually recognized by the consultant, focus on the technologies that the IT department has and how the city needs to use it. And we take actually a different approach here at the city. We say we need to deliver capabilities, and underneath that, we define the technologies that accomplish that best for the city in a way that certain investments can leverage the most, but also that we're hitting the marks and performance-wise too, that the city actually requires. So if you see the 5 strategic pillars, you'll see them emulated in the green boxes. On the left and right side, you'll also see key things that we have to do structurally to be a successful organization. And number one is hiring and engaging a really strong team. When you're lean, the people you have count more. And so that is number one about our structure of success. And number two is what I talked about earlier in terms of the resilience and security. That's going to be something that weaves through everything that we do for the foreseeable future. This is another eye chart, and is actually for people in the technology space as a COBIT model. And it's a governance model for IT and a framework on which you can manage resources. The important thing to take away from this one is we need to discuss, based on the feedback from the consultancy, is what do we optimize by consolidating, what do we federate, and what do we leave decentralized? And that's really to make maximum use of the dollars we have, and also to focus resources where we play to our strengths. And so where there's maximum responsiveness needed, then we make sure that's closest with the business. Where we need security and structural optimization, we say that's centralized, and then there's other areas where we federate. This is their proposal of what we consolidate, what we federate, and what we decentralize, but it's going to be part of an implementation model that we'll work on over the next year, maybe year and a half. The other thing that they mentioned, and Jerry alluded to this in his intro, was needing to have an important conversation about public safety technologies. And the 2 comments that were made from the consultancy was, you don't fund it where you want to fund it 3 times. You need to, number 2, have a tightly coupled emergency response in the future. So the recommendation is discuss how you can pull it all into one group and fund it well once. It isn't a mechanism to fund it less. It's actually a way to make that service level hit a higher bar and to invest more, but in a concerted fashion. So the police chief, the fire chief, the director of the Office of Emergency Management, and I have talked, and this is worth the conversation, and all are agreeable to that conversation. The 2 notes on that, though, is that it has to advance the city's ability to respond to emergencies, and they don't want to lose back and kind of dumb down any areas where we're doing well right now. There's also a saying we have in the city of San Jose, and this actually came from KIP, which is all of our technology is powered by people, and we can never forget that truth. And so we have to have the right people in the right places of our organization doing the important work to actually deliver on those commitments. What you see here is the dark blue and light blue boxes are specific people. The gray boxes are actually capacities where we have 1 or more people in it, so that we can actually perform a service in lieu of or in support of the IT strategic plan and the city roadmap. You'll see that there are some areas where we have rectangles. And those are where we have some resources now. The more oval ones are where we need a capability, but we don't have people there currently. And so that's our long-term where we'll talk about investing more. And you'll see some yellow shaded ones, which are where the current recommended city budget has some investments to add capacity in those areas. But over the years, this is where we'll look to invest. On the right side, just want to call council and committee's attention to a couple things. Number one is Development Services Transformation Team. The Development Services IT team is being folded into IT, and we're going to have a very focused group on the improvements we're making around development services long term. Number two is there is the creation of the privacy officer, and that's a position really focused on the legal, the policy, and the public engagement portions of our digital privacy policy, which was approved by council in December of 2020. Data officer, you'll see, is empty. We have some strategies to try to at least make some near-term progress by tapping the good work and strengths of our GIS team. And they really are kind of a treasure to us, and you saw that in the GIS strategic plan last month. And then you also see in ovals the Deputy CIO for Public Safety. This is a recommendation. You don't see any lines on it or boxes or recommendations. This is something for us to still talk about, but we want to represent it based on the feedback of the consultancy. We also want to talk about how we're going to measure our success and track our progress along the way. There's three measures that I just want to call everyone's attention to. These largely call on what we had in the previous strategic plan because they're trust measures are the services we're delivering strong, they perform well, and people are satisfied with them. But three measures that we've added or one retained. The first one is the resident customer satisfaction. And this is actually a way where we're going to start focusing on all of our omni-channel services, be it web, be it mobile, be it direct chat, be it virtual agent. At the end, we need to actually say, did we solve your problem? Were the people we provided you to interact with, if you interacted with one, knowledgeable and friendly? And was it a first call resolution? Because that correlates to maximum chance of success. And that's going to be something we're going to try to tie to things like demographics and other information to see who we might be missing and where in the data that we need to perceive things that right now we don't have the data or we don't even have a shot at seeing some of the equity opportunities that exist in those 311 service data sets. Number two is security incidents. We won't ever report this number publicly, but what we focus on internally is to try to keep the cybersecurity events few and small. We all know that every organization is prone, no one's immune. So all the work that we have here is just to make sure that we keep our risk profile as tight as possible. And then the IT position vacancies. This one I was going to remove, but based on the feedback from the advisory service, they said when you have a small team, vacancies hurt you more. And when you're in a competitive area, you struggle more to hire. And then that you have an outsized impact from that vacancy. And that's true. We saw that with digital privacy. We saw it with data. We saw it with IoT. When one key person left, we had a kind of a stall out on some of that work. And so good advice, and we incorporated it into the performance measures. Oops, sorry, rolled one, two more. So one of the old sayings is if you understand something well, you can express it briefly. So this is our IT strategic plan on one page. And the goal of this is to just have a quick reference that everyone knows where we're going, why, and what the next 2.5 years are really going to be shaped around. You'll see the new mission statement at the top. You'll see the strategic initiatives that we discussed. Around strategic measures, this is based on the committee's feedback when we did our second round. One is around equity and how are we going to measure that with departments. Our first foray into that is the resident satisfaction at service. But we also have 3 others that we're going to take a look at who's accessing, where we're reaching and not reaching, who we're missing. But we're gonna have to work with departments to really get at a good model to be able to see those metrics. The other one is around effectiveness. We absolutely have to make sure that the cybersecurity of city and enterprises is gonna have some internal measures that we're gonna focus mightily on. I think everyone knows and has kind of that sense of fear. Why? Because all of our friends, we all have friends and peer organizations that have been taken down. But also, how do we start taking a look at the savings from the process automation that we have? And then based on your feedback, Chair Mahan, how do we loop back periodically and say, are we still seeing that return on investment, or is there a next phase of investment that can get us to an even higher level of return? And then there are some underlying assumptions, and then you see the core metrics that we'll focus on the right side. One thing that we are also going to do is assemble an IT advisory board. We're a little bit late on this one, just where the city roadmap was concluded and getting to council with the strategic plan. But we've looped with the mayor's office of technology and innovation, talked about how we can identify key people. This advisory board under the city manager's office would be there for the express purpose of two things. One is to challenge us to make sure that we're reading and proceeding in a good fashion, or if they have insights saying you're missing something, or maybe you're off track on this effort or this metric. And number two is along the way to keep us triangulated, to say, yeah, that's still the right path, or we're seeing some new information, some new technologies that might invite us to take another look at something. And then we always want to tie back to two things. Number one is the city roadmap. Actually, technically, number two is the city roadmap and the priorities that council has set with staff. This is actually a rare gift, and it was a very clarifying force in the strategic plan formation, but so much so that the advisory service and Infotech called this out in their write-up as well, and said very few cities actually have this level of clarity. Everything's important to everyone, just depends who you ask, is the way they put it. But we know for the next year and a half what we're going to be focusing on and why. And we see that technology actually has a key role or is a specific lead driver in 15 of these activities. So we have some work defined for us, and the strategic plan will align us to that. But the number one thing that we always try to connect to with the strategic plan is it's only worth anything if it improves the lives of our community members. So our ultimate goal is, are we making our families thrive and helping them thrive? And are we helping our businesses grow? And do we get a community that benefits from both on the other end of that? So we've appreciated all these past 4.5 years, council's support and staff support in really focusing on big goals that have meaningful outcomes. But we always want to remind ourselves that our soul is in the right place because these technology strategic plans have to speak with a bigger voice than just where the technology is. And with that, we're here for any questions, comments that the committee has, and that we would ask you to accept the report and refer it to council.
Great, thanks, Rob. Really excellent presentation, and excited to see the updated mission and where you're heading, and look forward to the conversation. Why don't we go over to public comment? And it looks like we have a couple of speakers, and we'll start with Mr. Beekman.
Hi, Blair Beekman here. Thanks for the meeting today. Thanks for this item. I guess to start with, you're talking about you talked about planning for public safety concerns with technology. Thank you for that. I mentioned it a few times, and it was mentioned at a recent county emergency meeting that they're developing simplistic ideas of sort of public channels of broadband communication in the time of emergency. Just like patchwork things that can help. Can there be a system that can be developed that's like Bayrix but that works for the everyday public in a time of emergency? And is this question relevant? I think I should just bring it up so we can consider it. You were mentioning you're going to create a new IT advisory board to the mayor, and it sounds like there's some good intentions to it. We've been really asking for there to be a more of a public review commission that reviews technology overall. And I don't know if this sort of IT commission can do that. I hope you invite the everyday community to be a part of this new IT advisory board and really make those connections to the community that it looks like you're starting to learn how to do. I hope this IT advisory board isn't just made up of corporate elites, and try to bring in community if you can. And cybersecurity. Those ideas have incredibly good ideas about open public policy that at this time that can really help work towards peace and not war. And that's an interesting concept that I know you're thinking about. Good luck with open public policy ideas with all of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go on to Victor.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Victor Sin. I'm the chair of the Santa Clara Valley chapter of the ACLU of Northern California. I have a question about slide 6 of the presentation, which mentions police reform. While police reform is certainly an imperative, it is not clear to me how the information technology strategic plan integrates with police reform. In other words, how is information technology used in the efforts of police reform? Could you please clarify and elaborate? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, not seeing any further public comment. Why don't we come back to the committee? And Rob, do you, just based on that last public comment, do you want to speak at all to the specific imperatives? I think it was your first bullet on that slide 6, and just to the extent that you are aware at this point, do you want to speak to how that's connected?
Yeah, so it's connected in 2 ways. One is there's a public safety strategy item that's in sync with the Public Safety Finance and Strategic Support Committee. And then we do loop with police and fire emergency services and IT on what those initiatives are, how they're carried in the budget, and those progress items. So that's number 1. Number 2 is there's going to be increasingly close coordination between us and the public safety IT teams because of the police reform plan, but also investments that fire needs to make in emergency management, the new EOC, Emergency Operations Center. That coordination has increased, and we started a coordination group between them just a couple years ago, and that's been ramping up. So we'll continue the kind of operational coordination, but then for Mr. Sin, taking a look at that public safety strategy item in PSFIS, the Public Safety Finance and Strategic Support Committee, and we'll keep the updates coming through there.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for referencing that. And Mr. Sen, I'll also just mention, if you do a little bit of searching on the city website, there's some very helpful links to documents that lay out some of the city's work on police reform. And if you have a hard time finding any of those, please feel free to reach out to my office, and we'll point you to a few documents. Okay, thanks, Rob. Appreciate that. So why don't we, I have a few thoughts, but let me turn it over to Vice Mayor Jones to kick us off.
Thank you, Chair. And Rob, thank you, you and your team for another outstanding presentation. This is a follow-up from our conversation, our one-on-one we had. And that is that you're presenting your strategy and your vision based on your reality of what is. And I want to understand what should be, not what is, but what should be. So can you give us an idea of what an adequate IT budget and resources would look like to really accomplish, all of the goals and objectives that you want to accomplish?
Yeah, and Jerry and I have actually had this conversation, Kip and I too, and I'll out myself on this one. Kip challenges me with the same question you've just asked on a regular basis. Says we shouldn't always just aspire to work within resources, but to outline what it should take. And so what Jerry and I, in our experiences, what I would tell you is, in terms of the IT staffing that the city needs right now across all departments, we have about 160, 170 people. Starting July 1st, about 100 of them will be in the IT department. For a city our size and our budget, I would tell you it's about 200 people would be where I would peg about the staffing right size. If you take a look at our peer cities, Dallas and Austin, they're both north of 200. And if you count consultants, they're both about 300 people. They have a lot more use of consultant positions than we do. And so do Chicago and Houston and Fort Worth. So those are decentralized as well. In terms of budget, I would tell you our budget should be more in the neighborhood of about $100 million. That lines up less than Austin, less than Dallas, but for the 10th largest city in the country, maybe 11th, depending who you listen to. But that's about right for our size of an organization.
And it's currently, to give people a point of comparison who may not know a current budget.
Yeah, our current budget is currently about $34 million, and that counts some one-time funds and some 2-year roadmap items. through the mayor's budget message that he was kind enough to allocate our way. So there's a lot of ground to make, but the other thing to say, Vice Mayor, is if you take a look across all of the city departments, not to negotiate against myself, but San Jose has a very consistent artifact in our numbers that we tend to be the lowest across the board on every department, right?
No, I definitely understand that. What I would appreciate and like to see is when you give these strategic presentations to have a slide or some language around what your actual requirements are to fully implement your vision and objectives. Not to say that, you know, we're going to give you the money or the staff, but at least it's out there in the public domain that this is what you actually need to accomplish your mission.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Oh, just one more thing in the performance metrics. If we get to this 3.5 number, which is our goal, it gets us to about, currently it gets us to about $60 to $70 million, much more in line with where we could provide the services and have the depth of response and the resilience that we would want. But that's for this 2.5 years, we would tell you that number ties to the staffing and the services that we would want to create to answer your question. And then we would pair that with the organizational blueprint of where those resources would go.
Great. And then on the organizational blueprint, where you have the proposed positions, I'm making the assumption that, say, a position like the asset management coordination is not a nice to have, but a requirement. And would you say that the other open positions are pretty much falling in line with the same expectation?
Yeah, I would say we could actually make really strong arguments for about 8 of these right now. And it's always the art of, given all the other city priorities in the budget process, what do you highlight? What in cybersecurity, what we often say is, if you don't know what you have, you can't secure it. And one of the things around that asset management position is allow us that better insight and that better coordination to make sure all those assets are visible. And that if something happens, we can quickly read and react to what the situation, because we know where things are and who to talk to. So that's the reason why that one's important. The San Jose 311, that's the drive to digital and the push to double down. So it's taking the advice and also our own internal imperatives. And then the digital privacy officers, because there is that new policy, council policy that was approved, and we have to make progress on that line.
Are there any other open positions that you feel are really not discretionary, that are requirements?
Yeah, so there's 3 more that I would tell you really are worth the investment. The business automation team, to stand that up, we've stolen some personnel from our finance team in the middle of the pandemic so that we could stand that up and get and you'll hear more about this in the next 2 presentations next. So I won't steal their thunder too much. Number 2 is the enterprise architecture stack, is how we align our technologies and build our plans and structure where we go. Right now, we have some diffusion of our resources and focus because there's one of everything. And so if we can focus that and keep it tight and clean, then we can actually build things that integrate better and can get at personalization, have more security and those types of things. And then the last one I would tell you in here is the data officer. Eventually, data is an amazing strength that we have to have. And we unfortunately don't have as much resource there as I would tell you is appropriate for an organization, especially with some of the decisions we want to be able to make in the future and some of the dashboards we want to be able to do. But I'd also invite Kip, because he and I have lots of debates about these things.
Yeah, no, I think it's well said. Just a reminder, we do have some funding for a data position for this next year within the budget. So that is there. I don't want to mischaracterize that. It's not nearly what we need, but it is a good start. The piece on the enterprise technology, I would just and in combination with the cybersecurity, I would just reiterate. We have, because we've been decentralized for so long, we have multiple instances of the same system popping up, but then there are different versions of them. They're not necessarily compatible. We're missing the opportunity to look at a common data set and understand things across different service delivery systems. And so really having an enterprise architecture that goes across those departments and is invested in as a central way is one of those things which is not necessarily upfront, but ultimately a big money saver, and also will enhance our capabilities, especially as you look at these things that overlap, like trash and homeless and things like this. Separate systems built up that then have to crosswalk to each other. So I think there's an awful lot there. We do have some opportunities as we move forward with and the community economic recovery to make those kind of enterprises, but we need that as a core capability for everything going forward.
Thank you, Kip. So is this the point where I agree with the consultant's recommendation that we should be consolidating everything under centralized IT? Or I'll save that speech for another time. Then
I want to hear Rob defend himself on that.
The Vice Mayor's been very kind to give us this feedback every year.
He told you so.
I've been consistent. And my feedback was free. You didn't even have to pay a consultant.
And I would say directionally, you're right. And I think that's where we're going to push over the next year is the things that can be when we say federated, what we're talking about really is the things that we need to do more centralization, not less in our case. And I think Rob is very judicious in selecting both the things that have the highest value and also where we're organizationally ready to do that. But to your point, Vice Mayor and Mayor and others, we need to do more centralization, not less, especially in the cybersecurity arena that we're in, and especially in the enterprise platforms that we're in, where when people don't have their individual box where they're doing things on an individual box anymore, right?
Great, thank you. And then two quick questions. One, Rob, is, we talk a lot about equity and how we utilize and implement some of your initiatives through an equity perspective. Can you give me a quick use case in terms of what that means and how we utilize equity to make decisions and implement projects?
Let me give you two. One is around the digital inclusion networks, and doing that pilot with, and this was had some ties with the mayor's office as well. And then you saw the community come and the school districts come and say, we need to connect these people in the middle of a pandemic, please accelerate these plans. But then also to connect that with some of the data of where the usage is and how that utilization is shaping, and potentially connect that with efforts where we talk with the county's Office of Education, so that the school city collaboratives can say, here's the services, here's the data, here's the impact. Number two, I would tell you is some work.
Can we stick on number one for just a second more? Just in a little more detail on that, because we were able to do that data analysis and say, this is the areas of actual need based on real data. We were able to work with AT&T and Verizon to accelerate the build out of small cells in just those neighborhoods where people needed the connectivity from the hotspots that we were able to get AT&T to donate. So they built out 64 more small cells or so than they would have otherwise in that time period, upping the signal service in just those neighborhoods where the children needed them most at the time we were able to deliver that. And that wouldn't have been able to be done without that data-driven equity approach that Rob is talking about.
Yeah, it's a good ad, Kip. And you saw that map where we pulled some of the census information, income, neighborhood demographics, those types of things. And then to be able to connect people for education, for work, and for health. Number two is something we're working right now with housing and the Urban Institute and the City of LA on a partnership to say, with the housing or the eviction moratoriums set to expire at some point in the future, what are the policy decisions that have been made and the tools that we've had that have had the most positive impact or just strung along a problem? Because two outcomes you don't want are people getting evicted at the end with lots of debt and then you're hopeless or in a hopeless situation, or landlords going bankrupt and decreasing the housing supply in a different way. So there's some work that we can do on those things and say, how are parts of our community that are hurting being helped, and what are the right decisions to make? There's still a lot to be done on that one. It's very in very formative stages, but we all have a lot of worries about how the eviction moratoriums need to be tracked as they start subsiding. So those are just two examples, Vice Mayor.
Great, those are two very good examples, so I appreciate that. And last question is about the advisory board. We already have an advisory board. Is it still active, or no, it's no longer?
Yeah, so the previous one, oh, sorry, let me listen to your full question. I apologize.
Well, that was it.
Okay. Yeah, so we created one for 1 year last time, and it was because we had a lot of heavy hitters there, and we wanted to use their time wisely. But we had it there as a city manager's advisory board, reviewed by the city attorney's office, so everything met the right legal standards. No one from any sales functions could be a part of that, but they were there to challenge us, and we really refined our last strategic plan on that one. This one, in terms of timing, we weren't able to form it ahead of this proposal. We're going to use them to kind of keep us on track and keep triangulated. But it is a board where we ask some of the best experts in the space, some of the thought leaders, to push us and make sure we're tracking well.
Great. That's it. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Vice Mayor. Mayor.
Thanks. A couple quick questions. First, really excellent presentation. Appreciated the insight about the direction we're going here, and really well done. On the org chart, I know you've got a couple boxes there for data, and I know that we've been challenged in being able to fill positions and obviously do all the hiring we'd like to do and have the money to be able to do that. And I just want to extend the offer. You know, I think we're in the mayor's office. I know we're not on the org chart, but we've got a great lead on data, and Stephen and Christine have been working really hard on these issues, and we would love to deepen our partnership with city manager's office on the big challenges that we're both facing. And they've got a lot of great fellows and students and a lot of other folks. They're building a minor empire of really smart people who are dedicating their time, sometimes paid, sometimes not. And I'd like to believe there's ways we could help. So please use us in ways that we can be helpful. And Christine, I think you already know, has been doing great work. Stephen just joined our team recently, and really looking forward to great things that we can do. Secondly, on the question of the, I'm sorry, I wrote down a question that I forgot what the heck it was all about. Oh, I know. The Public Safety Technologies Division, that was really intriguing to me. You know, I know because I've been through these conversations where we're, you know, identifying technologies to improve emergency medical response and police response. And it seems as though these systems do exactly the same thing. We're paying two different vendors, and it's got me pulling my hair out. Are we seeing significant consolidation in the contracts in Dallas and in LA, and I'm trying to Philly, I guess, wherever else you're seeing this happen? Are you actually seeing that happen? Or
Our outreach to the CIOs. Oh, sorry, Mayor, go ahead.
I was gonna say, our department's still kind of, you know, fighting over turf on technology.
So two of those are friends, so we can reach out, and we've had some conversations with our CIOs, and they said there's some places where it works really well, and you do consolidate and have a coherent approach to some of the uses of technologies. Other places, the departments have that control comfort where they say, no, this one I need to own, it's mine, and they push against each other. But overall, the investments have gone to new and better capabilities. There hasn't been a decrease in overall investment. They've been able to do more with the money that's been assigned because of some consolidation there. But they are very clear. There are spots where that model works really well, and some of the examples you brought up are those. But the departments really never stop pushing for what they want in that control. So it really is kind of an honor among of peers to make sure that model works well.
Yeah, I mean, I've been encouraged through conversations with our new police chief that, you know, he's really committed to civilianizing that portion of his shop, which I think creates opportunities for these kinds of things to happen. And we can really build out a great small group of experts in this space and really drive change. And so I look forward to that happening. I guess the question is this at this point, is this still in sort of the thinking mode, or is the organization fully decided going forward on that path?
So if the committee approves this and council approves it, we would have initiate the conversations and the work to say what that would look like, and hopefully connect it with the safe city strategy work that's dovetailed into PISVIS.
Great. And then finally, on the 5 priorities, probably might have guessed, the one I'm most interested in is around the optimizing, because I think there's enormous opportunities for us, given how sparsely populated we are as a city team, and the fact that, you know, technology is so critically important for us to help really be able to deliver services, given that we simply don't have enough people that we'd all love to have. I wanted to ask a question, though, about the first of the 5 items of the 5 general goals, which is around equity. And appreciate the 2 examples you gave. I guess the concern or question I just wanted to raise was this. I'm concerned about the extent to which we're investing in a level of precision which is not actually helping us deliver services to our most high need neighborhoods and most high need families. And I just give you a quick example. I know that, you know, through the budget process, and we're all just trying this out and trying to find the right balance and figure it all out. So I don't blame anybody for any of this. This is just sort of experience. But I know, like, for the budgetary process, we have a little bit of money to be able to open up add hours at libraries, but not all of our libraries, unfortunately. So we had a set number of libraries in this budgetary process. And so we went about trying to identify what are the libraries based on an equity screen that we'd want to open. And so a really large number, I think it was 7, 8, or 9 different kinds of demographic measures were used and a lot of analysis to come up with this list. And I understand in a city with 11 council members who are all fighting to get their libraries open, why you might need to engage in an enormous amount of analysis to be able to say, see, we got all this evidence that these are the libraries we need to open for more hours. But when I asked the question, what would happen if we just did this based on per capita income? Would the list change any? Would it have the same libraries? And they did some analysis a couple of days later. Like, yeah, it's the same list. I think 2 of the libraries out of the 14 or whatever would have been flipped in order, but it was a very modest change. It had been the same libraries. And I guess the point of all this is, you know, equity is not something we just started thinking about a year or 2. You know, people came to this organization decades ago who are still here, who care passionately about equity and understand really that is the core of their work. And we know we live in a country which, tragically, race and income are far too highly correlated, and specifically poverty and race are far too highly correlated. I believe that is very much the core issue in many ways. And so I'd hate to think that we are going to spend and invest so much time that we're going to create a lot of heat and not much light that will really drive decision-making that is not likely to be much different than if we just said, where are our highest need families based on income, for example. And so that's why I know we make this a prime issue in terms of priority. I'm just concerned about the amount of time we would invest in a level of precision that's not actually going to move the needle, when I think we all know that what we really need are as many hours as possible of our scarce city workers' time actually serving those communities and lifting them up and supporting them, rather than on the additional 10 hours it would take to analyze whether or not this is the right list of communities to be serving first. So thank you for putting up with my rant. I just wanted to get that out there because I'm concerned that I'm seeing a lot of this, an enormous amount of time and energy spent. You know, and the old expression is, you know, why do economists make GDP predictions to the nearest 1/100th of 1%? And the answer is because they have a sense of humor. Nobody really believes they have any ability to actually predict to that level. Well, to some extent, I think we need to recognize too the limitations and simply say our primary job is actually serving those communities. So anyway, I know everybody's thinking about these things too, because we're scarce. Our resources are scarce, but I'm just hopeful that we can get to a point where we can say, okay, this much analysis is what is sufficient for us to get people actually out there doing the hard work, which we know is most valuable in our community. Thanks for putting up with my rant.
If I could just, Mr. Mayor, just thank you on that. Just 3 things real briefly in sort of support or response. One is we've recognized the same issue with sort of dueling maps and indices and analyses. And as somebody who's done my master's work on that stuff, you could spend an inordinate amount of time revising those indices and looking at them 16 different ways. So part of what we do is we do have a working group that is working with Matt Lesh and also our subject matter experts. It is both clarifying what we mean when we say neighborhoods and then clarifying some common indices that we will all be using so that we'll be talking about the same things. And yes, income and race, unfortunately, are highly correlated in North America. So in some cases, you can get to the same thing in a couple of different ways. But what we'll try to do is get there once in a centralized fashion that will allow departments to use those indices for multiple things and not have to reinvent them every time. That should help. And have that as literally a click of a button in the GIS function so that they can say, hey, well, how am I distributed, or how should I distribute my resources? How does this fit with this question? And so that should help a little bit. The second point on sort of the Pareto optimal optimization, we completely agree. And part of what struck me, and you'll hear a little bit from Jerry on this, on the equity side, I think the thing that shifted my thinking a little bit on this and why I agreed with it staying on as a priority as well in the technology space is the understanding that if we don't think about equitable outcomes at the beginning of the design process, we're never going to get there by layering stuff on the back end once we produced it. And if the definition of equity is think about who's been most burdened, I really think it fits well with your optimization. Equity is one of the characteristics of which we'll optimize around, is who's most burdened. And if you think about that up front, you're going to design a better system, and that should actually save time and money to your effort. And to the other point, not designing the perfect, but allowing ourselves to iterate and learn has been the best thing that we've done in terms of process in the last 4 or 5 years. It's allowed us to adapt more quickly. So I don't think we should over-engineer this stuff, and I don't think we should try to make ourselves perfect on the first time out. So I think that's all very good feedback, and we are taking it seriously. And I think the approach starts to minimize some of that work and rework and overlap and false precision that you pointed out.
Thanks, Kip. Appreciate it. You said it much more succinctly than I did.
Thanks, Mayor, and really appreciated your comment there. I think my own interest in goals and metrics is very aligned in trying to understand what are the outcomes in the community that we're achieving, and then ensuring that those outcomes are benefiting everyone. Certainly not having metrics so that we have a lot of numbers to feel good that we've got pretty charts. So I appreciate the comment there. Rob and Jerry and to the whole team, just again, I want to echo some of the previous comments about the kind of clarity and comprehensiveness of the framework you put forward. I think it's a really strong overview of where you're going, and I'm generally quite bought in. And I love that you're adding customer satisfaction, by the way. I think it's really important. I know that, as you referenced, a lot of what you do is about internal capacity building and enablement, but I think it's super important that we are always thinking about that end customer, the resident whose life we're trying to make better. So I just want to highlight that you're adding that KPI, and that I think that's just really, really critical. I'll pick up on, actually, I thought the Vice Mayor's first question about what should be versus what is was interesting. And I guess I would just ask you to think not just about the sort of budget and the head count, and I know you got into some of this in some of his follow-up questions, but to really help us understand what's possible with incremental budget and head count. So it's not just, we want to be at 60 million or this many heads. It's more about, with another $3 million or $5 million over the next however many years, this is some of the impact we can unlock. So I think those are the terms in which it would help us better weigh some of the investments that we're talking about here against other trade-offs that we have to make in the budget. So that's probably more of a comment, really, than a question. I mean, you're welcome to react to it if you'd like, but I think it would be helpful for us to understand the potential impact. That's at least how I took the Vice Mayor's initial question, was sort of what's possible? What could we do? what is Seattle doing with $400 per resident? You know, and maybe they're wasting some of that, but you know, it would be helpful to understand what's that impact for our community that we may not even be fully aware of. And then to that point, I will try to get to a question here, which is, you know, as you think about, I looked at your metric on project success rate, and as you partner, you talked a bit about internal partnerships. As you work with departments in the city to implement technology investments and process improvements, I would be curious to better understand. I think this gets back to the equity point as well. How do you define success with them? Who sets the criteria? And I imagine it's a conversation. And I'd love to get a little bit of insight into how you work with another department to define success and measure it.
So it's a four-part answer. And part of this is coming at a structure because you're right, council member, you can do a project and get done and it produces zero value. And so the way we actually measure ourselves is, do we execute and then do we deliver the value? So the four questions are, when we have a project charter, does it define the business value that we're going to deliver and have the clarity and commitment that we're going to be successful with it? And so that chartering process is really around getting to that clarity and commitment. And then you add on urgency, and then you can hit a really high success rate. The metrics that go along to whether or not it was a success or not is 3 out of 4 of the following. So was it on schedule? Was it on budget? Did it deliver on scope and quality? And the number one measure of all of them is, did it deliver the value as signed off by the sponsor? And if the sponsor says, yeah, you hit 3 out of 4, but it doesn't do what I need it to do, we actually call that a failure. So it's the overriding number. You have to have 3 or 4, but if that last one is a no, it's a no. It's a very binary. So that's how we try to stay true with departments. I will be honest that occasionally, sometimes the idea change of what I wanted then and what I want now is different. And we shut those down and say, then this project is on hold until we get that clarity and commitment, because there's no sense in throwing good money after bad, because we have to get into it. Fortunately, that happens very rarely, because that chartering process, you go through quite a bit to make sure that this is something you want to do. The other benefit that we've seen is it also allows, when we coach departments through that process, they self-select out of some of the projects that they wanted at the starting point. And then once you get through the detail, they go, okay, I don't want that bad, or I want this other thing better, or I need to keep on working on resources to make that happen. So it's a very, very collaborative and informed decision process. And the city auditor in the 2019 technology deployments audit recognized that and said that's why they made that recommendation, that we build everything around that chartering process because it shows a high success rate. Does that answer your question, though?
It does, and I'm glad to know that you go through that rigorous, set of criteria, and that fourth one is the most important, because I think it should be. It leads to a follow-up question, which is, you put up toward the end the city roadmap and highlighted, I forget the number now, I think you said it was about 12 or 13 projects that your department would be directly impacting or even leading. And I guess that leads me to say that, I think it would be valuable for this committee, as we think about the investments we're making and the value we're getting, to understand those criteria. I don't want to get too into the weeds necessarily, but for those projects where you've circled them or highlighted them and said that, this is a key strategic IT investment, be helpful to understand what that value, where those scored on that criteria, and understand what value is being created, and then how they ultimately performed as we implement them. Is that something we can do in this committee?
I think we can. So we'll come back periodically and show you some of the work. We do try to keep the committee at the policy level, but we can show that roadmap, and then you see through the bi-monthly reports from Michael Foster what those initiatives are, the value that's being produced, and what the status of them are. And so that's how we folded what used to be the Smart Cities roadmap and to the IT projects roadmaps together to give the committee that view. I think there's probably going to be more work based on your comments on getting at value and always talking about value in those projects. There's some improvement I can see we can make there, to be honest.
And I think the value conversation is more, what does the value of that roadmap item deliver, since we've got this as an enablement function. So that might happen more in the reporting out in other committees on what did this deliver, but we can certainly tie back here, as Rob said, when we do our regular sync, since he has specifically prioritized the roadmap items as the strategic plan. So as we come back, we will obviously stay connected to value. You probably hear more in depth about that in other committees other than this one.
Understood. Great. Okay, and then my final question, and then we'll take a motion unless anyone else has questions or comments, was I found the gaps on slide 6 really interesting. I'm going to just scroll back to those here on my screen. I don't know if we can put those back up very quickly, but so slide 6, you had voice of the customer, and then you highlighted some gaps, including one that actually the mayor was just speaking to, which was a lack of clarity around how to set and meet equity goals, not enough people with skills to harness data. I was hoping, Rob, you could just speak to one or two of the, I assume those are in rank order. If you could just speak to the top 1 or 2 gaps that we're seeing and how we're addressing them, or how you think we should go about addressing them.
Yeah, and the order they're in is occurrence, not necessarily priority.
Okay.
But let me just quickly go through them. So on equity, the departments, what they were very clear about is they're figuring it out as they go along. The first attempt was the equity lens. Some of them have some very specific things that they want to try, and that's where it gets into the data and the IT support. So for example, PRNS, to share some of the good work they're doing, they said, we have a lot of data and we don't use it as well as we want. And so how do we have the skills to be able to say, are we reaching the community in the ways that we need to be? And as they stand up a new division, what are the performance kind of keys that they're going to track to say, are they delivering that new service area on point? The not enough IT people, we had a good conversation about this last month in kind of the reveal of the background information, which is just so many places in the city where we're one deep. And the departments called that out as PRNS again is one of them, IPA others. So we just need more IT help. We don't want to burden because we know everyone's thinly staffed. But if we're really going to be good at some of these activities and then connect the equity insights with improved services, with the systems that help us get really efficient at them, we're going to have to make more asks of IT. So they were prepping us, saying that we're going to have to ask those things together. And that was our commitment in this input process is when we do that, and you've heard me say this before, IT never asks in the budget process alone. If it's really important, we're going to ask with others. But it's also how that value is stated between those departments. And hopefully we can get multiple departments to leverage one investment that's going to help multiple of them. And then that better normal is the last one. I'll speak to all 4 just to round out the corners here. And that better normal and how people are going to manage this new hybrid workforce. A lot of the directors, managers that they brought in said, I still have to figure this one out too. I think I have some things I know what to do, but a team that's here part of the time, not here part of the time, managing service delivery, hiring, getting kind of a culture built. They've said that there's a lot of unknowns. So I think the number one thing about this, Chair, is there's a lot of technology that's going to be needed to help us address things that we just we're figuring out on the fly in some of the spots, and some of them with a lot of work behind them, others that we just know we're going to have to iterate to improve.
Yeah. Okay. Understood. Thanks for the extra context there. Appreciate it. Okay. Unless there are any other questions or comments, why don't we entertain a motion? Anyone like to move the report?
So moved.
Okay. All right. Great. Let's vote.
Foley,
Aye.
Liccardo,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Cohen,
Aye.
and Mahan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Great. We are on to our next item. Rob, do you want to tee this one up?
Yeah, let me go ahead and introduce our division manager for the city's portfolio products projects office. And that is Michael Foster, and give him some time to get his presentation up if it's not already shown. Oh, it's already up. And he's going to go through the regular updates. Michael?
Thanks, Rob. I think we're coming down from the 3-year strategic vision to the ground level of, okay, what's going on the ground today. So Thank you, Rob. Good afternoon, Chairperson, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the committee, and members of the public. I'm Michael Foster, Division Manager for the city's Portfolio Projects Office, and here to give my bi-monthly report. So we'll start off, of course, with a familiar slide, the city roadmap, and then as it fades into the adaptation of it for the innovation and technology major projects. So this is when we last left our heroes slide, the one you saw in April 1st. And this is the latest version of this. So as before, I've got follow-on slides for what's been changed, what's new, and what's been completed, plus more this time. So let's get started with those slides. So first is status changes. So FirstNet is overall green now as the schedule delays due to fleet and station installations are expected and planned for. And the shortfall for financial year 2021 was addressed, although there's ongoing budget requirements that are being evaluated with the budget office. The city open data environment hit some snags with COVID and with the loss of our data officer, who was also the privacy officer. But a plan for platform adoption is in place. And as you just heard, I think a lot from Rob and Kip, they just addressed a lot of that issue there. So next slide is net new projects. So we have one here, SJ311 accessibility assessment. Let me speak today. So across all levels of disability, such as blind, deaf, colorblind, limited vision, et cetera, for the various 311 resources, such as the audio virtual agent, the website, the app, et cetera. We'll be looking into those. And this is a partnership with the Pacific ADA Center. Let's see, next is recently completed projects. So the first two, if you take a look, are the outdoor Wi-Fi at the libraries and community centers. The first one being 9 city libraries and 8 PRNS community centers, and that was completed in January. Second being AT&T sponsored Wi-Fi for community centers at 7 additional centers. That was completed in late April of 2021. The GIS strategic plan, you heard an excellent presentation from Matt Lesh back in the April 1st committee meeting. And the Windows 10 migration, that's getting all of the PCs up to the most modern Windows operating system, Windows 10, and that was completed in March of 2021 with a few devices getting some exemptions because of special circumstances, but they are planned to be upgraded in the next year. Let's see. Next is the velocity map. So as you can see, we've deployed several projects, but more are on the horizon, as you're seeing in today's presentations, many of which will start in the new fiscal year, July 1st. So you'll be hearing about those. And then, as requested before in the last Smart Cities Committee meeting, what is the result? Or how are we validating and verifying that our projects are delivering the results? More simply, how are we doing? So here are some of the projects that have completed or launched in the last year or so, and their impact or value created. Rather than just read you raw statistics, I've got some visuals on the next few slides to show you these impacts. So for the SJ311 app, I mentioned last time that on a typical iPhone, the 5 new residential garbage and recycling services appear above the fold and are visible right on the screen from the start. So with a soft launch we did the evening of March 2nd, I mentioned last time that when we met on April 1st, that on March 3rd, over 30 reports were submitted for the new garbage and recycling features, even though there was no announcement yet. So just making them visible, obviously there was demand. There was a news release on March 10th announcing the 2nd annual National 311 Day. The spike in users and reports is clearly shown here after that date. So we have 84,000 users today and over 3,000 new users since March of this year. By the way, an active user is defined as ones that log at least one request in a given month. And we can see some of the images on the next slide of the promotions that were done for that March 11th promotion. 2019 San Jose State University study showed that while 85% of single-family households knew about and used the 311 services, that dropped to just 50% among rental properties. So these bus shelter promos and billboards in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese should help get the word out about multiple ways to utilize 311 services. And don't worry, you'll hear a lot more about this in the very next presentation. Next one would be, here's some scenes of FirstNet in daily use. And I want to jump to a graph on the next screen just to show you what's been going on. So here's the FirstNet adoption rate at the city. The remaining installations are occurring as fleet vehicles go through their planned maintenance cycle, hence the leveling off of that line there. And graphs never really show scale. So just to compare, imagine 4,000 iPhone boxes stacked on top of each other. These would be 880 feet in height. The tower at City Hall is 285 feet in height. So the stack would be 3 times the height of City Hall. Gives you an idea of how many FirstNet devices we've deployed. And finally, I wanted to talk about BPA, or business process automation. This is our paper to digital transformation process. Using workflow automation tools like SimplyGov, we started in April of 2020, just as the pandemic was hitting, to put online things like the VPN request form and the 213RR process, as they were desperately needed once everybody had to start working from home. As you can see, we had steady use during the pandemic, and as more workflows have been released and more people become more familiar with the ways of working online, now there are over 33 workflows that are live, with more coming every month. And you can see sort of the hockey stick growth there that we've got in requests for workflows. So what's next? So we've got a citywide detailed live status site for all of the technology projects you've seen, each one of those little squares. And this is currently internally only. This site looks at multiple metrics that are critical to the success of technology deployments. And this is in direct response to that technology deployments audit Rob mentioned of November 2019. Yes, it's still under construction, but it's already being used internally. Next is, how do we know the information on this dashboard is accurate? Well, we need to know about all citywide technology projects that meet that C3PO criteria you're already familiar with, sort of the bigger than a bread box question. So we do this in 3 ways, with regular training and engagement with the departments, validation with the procurement prioritization board, and validation through the budget process. So that is all I have. Any questions from the public or council?
Thank you, Michael. And I just want to say before we go to public comment, I really appreciate the loop closing and you reporting out some of that concrete impact and helping us understand what kind of value these projects created. So just really, I found that very enlightening. So appreciate it. It looks like we do have some public comment. Why don't we jump over to our call-in user. I think you may be, there we go. I think you're unmuted now.
Yeah, question I have is, how much is this going to cost? I might have missed it. I mean, I was listening as intently as I could, but what is all this going to cost the taxpayer? Can you guys tell me that? Because there always seems to be these nicey nice things, but they never really tell me where the money's coming from or how much it costs, or if there's going to be another additional tax on my utilities or the phone I'm talking on. I'm wondering if you could answer that, because you said questions from the public, and I know we have this protocol. You're not supposed to address people. You're not supposed to ask questions. We have all these little ticky-tack rules so you guys can avoid having to be responsible for anything. So I'm going to hang up this call, and I want you guys to answer me. And if you don't, then that's what I expect from people like you.
Thanks. Victor?
Good afternoon again, Mayor and Council members. I'm Victor Sin, Chair of the Santa Clara Valley Chapter of the ACLU of Northern California. In slide 4 of the presentation, one of the projects listed is LED smart controllers. Since this project is color-coded green, I would like to know whether city staff has completed the evaluation of any controllers that are not related to illumination. Is the evaluation of its impact on privacy complete? Is there a privacy policy in place? Will the Privacy Advisory Task Force be given an opportunity to provide inputs on the privacy policy governing LED smart controllers? Thank you very much.
Thank you. And looks like we have Blair.
Hi, thank you. Blair Beekman here. You know, I've spent the past few months now trying to learn how to better talk about, you know, we seem to be preparing for in the next few years in city government to San Jose and possibly the Bay Area, ideas of natural disaster preparedness issues of wildfire, climate change, sea level rise, and a possible earthquake. You know, my words have not meant to startle or harm people. They've only meant to be words to consider and hopefully make good decisions out of that process, out of my words, out of my thinking, that, you know, we can make more open decisions about what exactly we need, how we can move forward in the next few years. And I haven't meant it to harm people at all or hurt. And it's startling, but we are preparing right now. And I thank you for this item. City government's been doing this kind of work a lot lately. I hope it, as a community, we're learning to prepare for upcoming natural disasters that are possible. I don't know how certain, but are definitely possible in the next few years. So with that all said, this again, you offer FirstNet services that I asked earlier. Is there a way to create a broadband emergency FirstNet response line for everyday public in the time of emergency, like the BayRIC system? I know you have patchwork systems already in place with Verizon and others. How can that be a more guaranteed system if needed? And I guess a good luck in the work of you're working on surveillance and technology issues with this whole smart city outlook, and ordinance issues, surveillance and technology ordinance issues. Good luck how we can move forward with those efforts. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, great. Back to the committee. Just in an effort to be responsive, since we have a small number of comments there, I just wanted to comment on the budget question, which was rather high level. There is quite a bit of detail in the budget documents on the city manager's website around spending on IT and all other city services. So I just point folks there. Rob, on smart controllers, do you want to just very briefly say something about the sort of status and scope of that project at this point?
I'll take that one, council member. Again, I forgot I didn't introduce myself at all. Kip Harkness, Deputy City Manager. So a very good question from Victor Sin on that one. We're currently deploying the LEDs because we have the opportunity to do so at a very low cost to replace the existing low sodium bulbs. And what we are installing as we are doing that is just a simple photo cell that when it gets dark, the light comes on. When it gets light, the light goes off. So there's no smart technology built into those that are being rolled out on the trucks right now. We did that without the smart controllers for two reasons. One of them is to make sure we actually know what we want when we install the smart controllers, and we're not just installing everything from the kitchen sink. And two, to make sure we do that in a way that respects privacy and involves the appropriate level of controls around both cybersecurity and privacy as we deploy those. So to the commenter's point, with our adopted privacy policy that the Privacy Task Force reviewed and supported, we will be making sure that those controllers or any proposed things in those controllers goes under a very thorough review and includes the opportunity for public understanding of what's going to be in those and what isn't, and what we're going to do on the privacy side. So very good question, very timely. And at the moment, nothing's going up except a little photo cell that turns it on and off.
Great. Thanks for clarifying that, Kip. Really appreciate it. And Michael, thanks again for the great update. Why don't we go to Councilmember Foley?
Great, thank you. And thank you for the presentation, Michael. I have a question for you regarding the 311 app as it relates to fireworks. We are getting reports daily, 2, 3, 4, 5 reports daily on fireworks. They're really becoming a problem. And I'm looking at the San Jose 311 app now on my phone, and I don't see any place that says specifically for fireworks. So how, a lot of my residents have been saying they're they're notifying fireworks on 311, but I don't, what, can you tell me how they can access fireworks? How are you picking up that information? What's the process so we can help our residents?
Can I take that one, council member?
Yeah,
Yeah.
please, Jerry.
So actually, I have been working very closely with Fire Marshal on this very issue. And one of the things, there were some council memos in December of last year, and I gave a presentation on this at the January council meeting as well. And I'll talk about it in our update for digital services. One of the things with fireworks is automating the process. If the processes aren't clean, just it causes more frustration with the actual app. So what we've talked about in integrating it with SJ311 is we have a lot of work to do related to our process side and with code enforcement, the fire marshal, and also with police and IT. So we're all working together with that end game in mind to integrate it with the app, but not until we deal with some of the process issues, because we don't want to cause greater frustrations by with our end users when they report things and the outcome isn't or the fulfillment of the request they're making isn't actually addressed.
Well, okay, so that's a concern. So people are reporting it on 311 and they're not getting a response. So if they should not be reporting it on 311, then we need to let them know that. And where should they be reporting it? Because this is just going to get more problematic as we get closer to the 4th of July. So any thoughts? Because everyone's going to 311 and they're saying, well, no, I'm not hearing anything. And so that talks to your end customer user and their level of frustration that they have. So what should we be telling them?
Councilmember Foley, there is a separate app just for fireworks reporting that exists today. It's actually on the city's website, and it is out there. We do know that it needs improvement. And I think that is one of the reasons that they also residents also connect to SJ311, both call center and the app, is because they don't get fulfillment on this app. And this we know from experience that this app needs work, and that's the first step of what we're working to improve. Is let's make the existing app better, and we have identified some things that we can do, low cost approaches to actually improving the current situation. So there is an avenue for them, and we know that it needs improvement. And the first stop is not SJ311, but we do see people call and put in other requests into SJ311. So you're correct.
Okay.
Councilperson Pam, this is Keo here with San Jose 311. Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to give you the direct telephone number. You can provide that to people. It's the 535-5600. That is the fireworks hotline.
Great.
And then I do see that on the screen right now, it's showing the website where you can actually put in the reports with the pictures, etc. And so if we do get callers that don't have access to the internet, we will put that in on their behalf. And that is 24 hours. So if they do call after hours when most fireworks do happen, we will place the information in for them, and they should receive an email response that it has been entered on their behalf.
Perfect. Thank you. We're just getting ready to distribute our newsletter, and we'll add that information to the newsletter. It's very, very timely. I appreciate that. Thank you. The other question I had, Michael, is about accessibility. You showed a slide about accessibility. What is it, but I wasn't clear on what the status is. Is it in you're looking to create accessibility for hearing impaired and visually impaired, but where are we on the process?
So it was on the slide of new projects we've launched. So we have just launched, I believe it was just about a week ago, new project to look into the accessibility of all the different 311 ways of accessing it. Things like the virtual agent, the app, the website, et cetera, and make them accessible to more people, as many people as possible.
Councilmember Foley, I'll jump in on this one too. We'll actually talk a little bit. We have a couple slides in the next presentation on our digital services directly about accessibility. Matt Opsel will talk about that. For the web channel, he and I are tightly collaborating together, as is Julie Kim and Herman Sedano with community members as well. And so we'll give an update on that in the next presentation, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's it for me. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Council Member. Michael, thanks again for the validation and verification slide that I think it was actually a set of slides starting on slide 9. I really appreciated that, as I mentioned earlier. And I had a couple of just very quick questions. One was on 311 and the garbage and recycling services that we recently released, and it led to a large uptick in usage. I see 5 specific request types in the screenshot. Can you give us a sense of which ones are driving most of that activity?
Right. We have a specific slide for that too, Council Member, in the digital services update.
Oh, that's in the next update.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Sorry. We can wait until then. That'll be a yeah. Okay, great. That's like foreshadowing. Awesome. Okay. And then other question was on BPA, so business process automation. Can you give us a sense of what's possible and where we are today? The chart, it's exciting to see it start to hockey stick, but I would imagine there's a lot more potential. Can you give us a sense of what that actually looks like?
Yeah, so and I'm sure there's more in the next presentation. I just wanted to give you a quick nugget of, we went from, basically none last April to 33 different workflow automations. And these are, replacing things like sending bike messengers to Kip's house for signatures, or replacing them with e-signatures. So we've started this process on sort of the most important things, and we're moving it further and further into the process. I would say those 33 are the start of possibly hundreds of things that we can turn into electronic versions of paperwork we currently do now.
And
Great.
Chairperson.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, Chairperson, we actually also have a significant portion of the next update dedicated to this too. And Kelly and I Kelly with the Human Resources Department and I are strong partners in this around also skilling up our staff, because process reengineering is a big part of automating them. That's a theme you'll hear from me a lot, is we need to actually focus on moving from very transactional based, paper-based processes into, as you said, what is possible. And in many cases, that requires new thinking and new skills.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Well, I think that's really exciting. I know there's a ton of potential there, and it sounds like we should get to the next presentation. But I see Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I had to be a stick in the mud. Hey, could we go back to that slide where you described the 311 usage? That data. And I'm just wondering if we actually stretch that back in time a little bit.
Is this one?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. So I'm trying to remember, we had some fluctuations up and down. If we stretch that back to say to 2018, can you just give me a sense of what that number would look like in terms of number of reports?
Yeah, Mayor Liccardo, Jerry Dreesen again. So actually, we've hit when San Jose 311 went live in 2017. We hit 165,000 requests pretty fast, and about 35,000 users. But it actually kind of leveled there, and so what we saw was a leveling. And Well, then we focused on a lot of usability improvements, and we'll talk about that again in the next presentation. I sound like a broken record, but so we saw that level, and then we made a lot of improvements lately, that including adding another service, and that's what we believe is causing the spike in both users and requests. But there was a leveling around 165,000 requests and 35,000 users.
And those were active users.
Correct.
And we did some cleanup with some people who were abusing the system by using bots. So some of that number goes down, not because people stopped requesting, but because we stopped getting spammed.
Do we have a sense of how many actual human beings out of those 35,000 were real?
Herman,
they should be all real users
now.
Yeah.
Now, yeah.
They are now. Yeah, I'm just wondering. Like I know.
Yeah, Herman, did you have a number of how many of the reports were bot generated? You'd given me that number before, I think, Herman. Can you give us a sense of what that was?
Yeah, I can find it, but Gabe, you're right. At some point, that person was logging 8,000 tickets per month.
Yeah, so at least 8,000 of those was a bot,
Yeah.
and so that's part of why some of the earlier dips happened, was we cleaned up that and got those 8,000 fallacious responses out of requests out of it.
And if we add up to how many he logged, we will talk about 20,000 tickets that were logged throughout several months that he did.
Right. Okay, I guess the reason why I'm asking all this stuff is, at one point or another, we had tens of thousands of San Jose residents who are interested in using this app or willing to do it. And I know, you're never going to penetrate the whole market here, but I'm just thinking, as we're trying to get back to a place where folks who would be inclined to use it will actually take it up again. And I just wonder if there's some value in us, whatever that number is, whatever among the 35,000. It seems like that's a reasonable goal for us to try to get back to, isn't it? To say, we want to go back and re-engage all those folks who tried us once and maybe they were disappointed, maybe they had some challenges using the app. And I just wanted, interested in your thoughts about whether that's a sensible approach for engagement.
I think it is now, because I think a lot of what we've done and a lot of what the team has done is created a much more stable platform, a much more secure platform, and a much better experience overall, tip to tail. And so my big reluctance previously, as you know, because we've had the conversation, was I don't want to start pushing it out until we've got a product that's worth pushing out. I think we're there, and people who've used it in the past and might have been frustrated are exactly the ones that, I get the emails all the time of like, come back, we miss you, right? And it works for me sometimes, and I give it a try if I feel like they've changed or they're worth it. So I think now is the time to start making that push, and going back to people who've used us previously that we are able to contact and reach out to is a great idea. People have used us once and might use us again, and if they use us again and get a good experience, they might become regular users. So I think it's right on point, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Kip, and I know you've answered all these questions, I know 17 times, or at least 11 times before, since you have 11 council members to satisfy. Can you just remind me the obstacles to integrating 311? Was it money? Was it bandwidth of staff? Or was it something else?
By integrating 311, you mean putting all of this together in a way that works?
No, I'm sorry, integrating fireworks into the 311 app.
Oh, I'll let Jerry talk about it because he's been front face to it, but I think it's a little bit of everything. So Jerry?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Hector's presented at committees, that Fire Marshal Hector has presented at this too. It's mostly, again, about the process, and he and I have talked about a lot of coordinating and the fulfillment order. I mean, if we look at fireworks reports that have been followed up on or issued citations, and what are residents actually looking for, the numbers are pretty low. Historically, they have been. Now, we've done a lot of work in that area, and just passed a ordinance that will help a lot, and so we're streamlining off of that to then first address the existing app and make improvements there, but then also work on the process improvements for it first. So it is on our list of things to identify. The reason that it didn't move up to the highest priority of the next services to be added is because of the complexity of the process as it exists today.
And the complexity being there's too much information that's required for it to be actionable.
And specifically fulfilling the complaint that was granted about the fireworks, that some action was actually addressed on the back end and working through those procedural issues.
Okay.
If I can add in.
Offline, I appreciate. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ron.
If I can add in, Mayor, this was part of a conversation we had early on back in 2017 when this came up too. Is we target for San Jose 311 items where we can say at the end the resident rates that their request was fulfilled and they're super happy with it.
Right.
And when we compare that to the fireworks reporting process, there's no happy conclusion at the end for a lot of it. So the service improvements have to be there first before it's really a prime candidate for San Jose 311.
Okay. I mean, I think we agree we're never going to get to that, right? Because fireworks enforcement is so hard. Love to have a conversation offline about whether that gatekeeping as a criterion is optimal. Anyway.
Yeah, and I think we're getting much closer than we were in 2017 with the revisions of the ordinance and with the willingness to change the process. So I think not to commit to where we get to without knowing what the data is, but if we clean up the process based under the existing ordinance, we think it's something that is more worthy, if you will, of a fit of being put up into something like the 311 app. But we still know that we're going to not have people satisfied. What we don't want to be able to do is to give them the opportunity to say, like, I heard a firework, and then be upset that nothing happened. They're going to really have to make sure that any report submitted has at least the chance of us being able to follow up on it and respond to them in a reasonable way. And you know all of that, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating stuff, but
okay. Sorry to take us down that rabbit hole. Thanks.
Questions. Okay, unless there's anything else, do we have a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, let's vote.
Foley,
Aye.
Liccardo,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Cohen,
Aye.
Mahan.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're on to our third and final agendized item, which is the City Digital Services Status Report.
And let me give an intro while Jerry brings up the presentation. This is just a status report on the city's transition to coordinated service delivery across our modes and our omnichannel approach, and involves key components in the city roadmap. It's also an essential part of the return to on-site work discussion that will be discussed at the June 8th council meeting. This is a big item that's multi-departmental and quite hairy in its complexity because of a lot of facets to the approach. But with that, Jerry, Kelly, Matt, and Trevor.
Thank you, Rob. Again, good afternoon, Chairperson Mahan, Mayor Liccardo, committee members, members of the public. I'm Jerry Dreesen, Assistant Chief Information Officer for the city. I'm here with a few of my teammates, and it takes a lot of us to work on what we're lifting and what we're moving towards in the future. And we're going to provide an update on digital services. One of the things that I will say is this is a very committed team, and we work closely together daily. And as part of that, we're actually going to pivot at the front end of this because one of our service channels, our website, which is critical, actually faced a disruption yesterday. And we want to provide a real-time update of that. And so Matt Upsall is going to kick us off with an update of that.
Thank you, Jerry. Good afternoon, Chairman, Honorable Mayor, committee members, and the public. My name is Matt Opsall. I'm a Senior Executive Analyst in the City Manager's Office of Communications, focused on web administration and digital content. We wanted to provide a quick update on yesterday's website outage. Yesterday, the city website, sanjoseca.gov, was unresponsive and slow due to a cloud infrastructure issue experienced by the city's website host. It was isolated in nature, but platform spanning, affecting the city website to be down, as well as a handful of other cities and municipalities that use this platform. However, some websites on the platform remained up. For example, the San Jose City Police Department. No cybersecurity indicators have been identified, and at approximately 5:30 p.m. yesterday, website performance was restored. This is the first outage lasting longer than 1 hour since the city website launched in November of 2019. Next week, we will receive an incident report from the website host to better understand what happened and can provide this report to the committee if desired. Jerry, back to you.
Thank you. So I'm going to launch now into the regular update that we had prepared for, in addition to the update Matt provided. So to start off, when we talk about our digital services strategy in the city, what are we talking about? We're really talking about 3 items on the roadmap. So San Jose 3-in-1 plus service delivery, which is our externally focused digital services strategy. But we're also talking about skilling up our staff and making sure they have the right skills for our process reengineering efforts, and also how they function as teams and collaborate with each other to deliver the services. So those 2 initiatives, Drive to Digital and Effective Teams, are also core to our digital services strategy. So first up, just to give some high-level metrics or impact statements about our San Jose 3-in-1 metrics externally focusing. And these are large numbers that immediately show the impact, some of which you've seen previously: 84,000 registered users, 205,000 reports. We're seeing increases in the user base and the number of active users who are actually using the app. We've added language translation services, and we've added a new service recently that actually is increasing our users as well by 3,000 users. The other thing, though, that is less visible than San Jose 3-in-1 is our process improvement effort and how we look at giving our employees the skills and the tools they need to deliver those services that are excellent for our external communities. And so our internal strategy is powered by people, and we need to give our staff the tools and skill sets and redefined processes that they need to deliver services in new ways. And as you see here, a very frustrated person who is actually surrounded by paper doesn't necessarily lead to better automation when we automate those processes. And so when we talk about process improvement, we're talking about streamlining efforts and moving away from manual paper-based processes. And this, of course, is our grand vision, is an omni-channel service delivery strategy. And just by way of reminder of what omni-channel is something that isn't channel driven, so it's not siloed in nature, but it's actually focused on the customers and making sure that no matter what door a customer walks through, they get excellent customer service. And behind that is streamlined processes, all oriented towards making that outcome better. And those, of course, are built on strong foundations that involve people, our staff, and skilling them up, involve processes and re-engineering them at sometimes, and then also solid technology. To get there requires a focus on culture. So the internal objectives to optimize virtual productivity for staff, engaging and informing them, and unifying messaging and communication is linked to our external, intrinsically linked to our external strategy, where we want informed, engaged residents, easy to use omni-channel service and response, and inclusive access for all. And so the way we say it is, our strategy is outside in, meaning it's resident-led, resident-focused, but our execution is inside out and it's employee-led. And I'm going to turn it over to Kelly here to talk about how we're focusing on our Powered by People effort and empowering employees.
Good afternoon, Chair, Mayor, Vice Mayor, committee members, and members of the public. I'm Kelly Parmley, the Assistant Director for Human Resources. And I'm really excited to be here again. It's nice as a human resource person to be invited to a Smart Cities presentation, because it's reflective of how much I think that IT and HR have really been working together. I think it is a little unusual for me to speak on some of the things that I'm going to speak on in a moment, and there might even be just a little bit of jealousy on Jerry's part that I'm going to say something about business process automation. So, with that, I'll say that, amidst all of the challenges, the pain, and the loss of the pandemic, it's been incredibly heartening to have some significant bright spots. And I hate to say that it would take a pandemic for us to be able to accelerate this work, but it really has been an opportunity for us to accelerate this work. 40% of our full-time workforce went remote almost overnight. And so, that required us to already take a strong partnership and really accelerate it. And so on the left-hand side of this visual that Jerry gives you, I think it's important for us who work in strategic support units like HR, IT, and finance to remind everyone that we care deeply and we're really committed to making sure that those who serve the public in terms of customers directly, that we are there to support those who do that direct service, and in many ways need to be thinking about how do we get the tools and resources and the capabilities that we need in order to engage with digital strategies. It doesn't come naturally to lots of folks. Although I will say that I love Rob's statement in terms of the mission around unleashing our brilliance, because I will tell you in a second, we have really seen some brilliance from our employees if we just give them those opportunities. So if you want to go to the next slide, Jerry, and I also just want to note that foundational piece of people, process, and technology, those three things have to come together, because we can have the greatest piece of technology, but if we don't have our people and our processes in line and with the capabilities in order to engage with that technology, we're not any better off. So I couldn't believe it, but before, it wasn't until the end of June this time last year that we actually developed these 4 objectives for Powered by People, which had been a citywide priority prior to the pandemic. But a few smart people who are here on this meeting today, Kip, Rob, and others, said we really need to get together a team to focus on what do we need to do for our employees to support them during a really difficult time. And so you're probably used to seeing this at this point, but those 2 circles to the right, the drive to digital and effective teams, really became our opportunity to partner in really effective ways using an agile framework. This was stood up around the first week in July, and we really moved quickly, effectively, and with these objectives in mind, we were able to actually accomplish what you'll see on the next slide, a whole set of results in 9 months, and actually most of them in 6 months when we were anticipating a year. So a long way to say that the drive to digital and effective teams put us in the same space with how do we work together to deliver what our employees need in order to effectively work to deliver the services that are needed out in the community. And so on the next slide, what I want to speak to here is the effective teams group had a whole slate of things that they had basically shut down we had shut down most of this work from March until June, and overnight resurrected this. And the one thing that I do want to speak to, you'll see a series of things that we did to support our workforce, but the learning labs, to me, and combined with a new thing that we're going to launch actually next week, are going to be the things to help power our people to deliver digital strategies in the way that you all would like for us to do, and that our community really asks of us and needs. And I think investment in our employees, as that Powered by People initiative so aptly states, is the right place to go. And so these learning labs, just as a little bit of background, our good friends in civic innovation got us going in this space as we were thinking about how do we support the Small Wonders projects. And so we had gotten together with civic makers and said, if we're going to have folks do this next round of Small Wonders projects, how do we deliver in real time the skills, the capabilities, the mindsets, the ways to work with one another that are needed to engage with technology and deliver what's needed? And so we took that concept. I was deeply disappointed when the pandemic hit that we weren't going to be able to go forward with that. But we figured out a way in a learning lab situation to be able to pull that off. We're in round 3 right now. I talked to the group this morning, if you want to go to the next slide, Jerry, to create an opportunity that I would say enacts some of what Rob was saying in the mission statement, which is to allow the brilliance of our workforce to shine through. It's hard to describe in ways that are palpable, in the ways that you feel and experience when you listen to folks who are in these learning labs speak about the experience. But essentially, in this first bucket, we had 3 teams. So essentially what happens is teams of 4 to 5 together in about a 15, and we tried 30 the last time, go together with civic makers, and they learn, how do I understand and clarify problems? How do I seek out information from stakeholders, namely the folks we're going to serve, about where their pain points are, what they need, and then design something for that? It is so not in our DNA to do that. And to watch folks now in 3 learning labs begin to learn those things is super, super important because they're really brilliant. Most of what people have come up is pretty amazing. We just need to enable them to do that through these learning labs. And so this first one is actually One City Workplace, is that slide to the left that Jerry showed you, which we took a learning lab and said, how do we design for these things? They came up with the idea, they put together the requirements for an RFP, and now we're working on funding it and going into a project for next year. So the second learning lab, basically what we learned was to take business process automation priorities, which we're going to talk to you about in just 2 seconds, and say, how do we get ahead of when we need to deliver something for business process automation, get a team together and teach them some things, create an environment, and then we're ready to go into how does this turn into an automated process. So the last learning lab, which we tried with 30 people, we totally redesigned and rethought new employee welcome. We figured out some really interesting things for performance reviews and employee directory. Council memos, we're all interested in thinking about how and figuring out how to design for that. Flexible schedule. So you can see that we've got topics there on the left, and then you can see the status on the right. So what has happened is you've got the design principles, the perspective of the customer built into this. And now we're trying, starting next week, with a person by the name of Brian Elms, who is from the Peak Academy. Many of you may have heard about that in Denver. And he's going to work, we're going to pilot out with 3 teams of 5 people. How do you engineer the process? That's incredibly important from a business process automation perspective. I'm an HR person trying to speak a little bit in IT land. I've spent most of my professional life with IT folks, and look at how I turned out, Rob. I think I turned out okay. And in that, I have seen us take technology and put it over crappy process. And to me, that's incredibly unfortunate. And we're gonna work on not doing that and not replicating that. So Brian's gonna help us figure out what are the principles to engineer this stuff. So we got the design, we got the process, we got the right people around it. Now let's figure out how this thing needs to be engineered. And so if you go to the next slide for me, Jerry. So this is where Jerry gets a little bit jealous, because this is actually a lot of his work and teams that he's worked with. It's not that Rob isn't in there, but he feels a great deal of pride with this, as do I, because we've been working really hard with IT on these business process automation projects. So these 33 automated processes, again, like eliminating the redundancy, centralizing things, building in approvals and routing workflow, previously was, in many of these, was walking paper around. And now we've created it behind the scenes, right? So reducing errors, dealing with missing information, all important things. Now this next one here, and I also want to mention that in the automated processes part, it isn't just SimplyGov. The byproduct of working with SimplyGov was also, we had some folks interested in making better use of PeopleSoft, our enterprise system, right? We are using functionality in PeopleSoft right now that I've never seen before. Thank you to my folks and friends in IT for helping us expand that as well, because this next one is based on some significant work done in PeopleSoft. We used to take a pan packet, it was called, with a stack of paper and say, here, new employees, sign off on all of this stuff, and we're gonna send it into HR. It's now electronic, it's got a checklist, we can track and route and move things behind the scenes. It's unbelievable what virtual new employee welcome has done, and our IT friends have really worked with us to figure out how to do this effectively in a virtual environment. And then I will say, the thing that I think has also been super powerful, again, thank you to our colleagues in Civic Innovation for bringing these frameworks around Agile, because we would not have been able to accomplish in 9 months, and mostly in 6 months, really, the work we needed to do to support our employees had we not had things like roadmaps, OKRs, and a real strong Scrum process, and folks who were going to Scrum master for us. So those 3 things to me are incredibly important. As a business receiver, owner, who wants these things to work more effectively and wants our employees to have the skill sets, I couldn't ask for better partners in our IT colleagues. And then on this last slide, this is the nitty-gritty detail, and it looks impressive and it looks a little scary at the same time, but I'm going to pick on a couple of these just for illustration. So there is this thing called an employee personnel file request. It used to be called the perusal form, and one big innovation was to get rid of the name perusal. But I will tell you, this was literally people, if they wanted to see an employee file as part of the hiring process, they had to get us a piece of paper. Then they had to get it to us. Then they had to get to a person who had a key in order to let people in a room, and they had to schedule when that could happen. All goes virtual now. They make a request. It comes electronically. It gets signed off by the person in their department. It comes to our department. And the beauty is it lands on a calendar invite because we got a scheduling in there. So that sounds really insignificant, I know, but it is huge when this thing happened. The other thing that I will mention is the temporary employee request. It's what's affectionately known as a temp U. If you've been in HR, you've been in a department with this stuff moving around, it happens all by email and back and forth and back and forth in different versions, often version control issues of the right form and people with pencil notes on it. This has all been automated. We're piloting it right now. It intersects with budget and with other offices and with HR. And inside of PeopleSoft, we're actually able to track the progress. So I know that that temp U form, where it is on any given day. And it's really important as a budgetary control mechanism, but also our ability to hire. So to me, that is a small line on this thing right here, but it's huge in terms of its ability to deliver value for our ability in the back office to be able to then serve folks who can serve the community. So Jerry, I'm sorry that I took your thunder with your BPA baby, but I do really appreciate both you and Rob working so hard with us in HR to automate so many of these things over the pandemic.
Well, thank you, Kelly. And it is amazing to watch the strong partnership that we have and what we've really come to realize through the partnership with HR, and that internal strategy connected to the externally is consistent with what we've always done in San Jose. And that is the core of our innovation approach: champion the customer, learn through data, and iterate to improve. And that's a big part of what we do here. And the Powered by People connection actually makes us focus on that people process technology part, and it forces us to get smart about what we're doing before we crank out the automation. When we started actually expanding the digital strategy last year, when we were talking about COVID recovery, and we knew that we had to double down on digital at that time, we were preparing the strategic plan. We also brought, and this was touched on in Rob's presentation on the strategic plan as well, we brought in Harvard Business School community partners. And what we asked them to do was to help us collect a lot of data from our residents. They did a resident survey. They interviewed dozens of community-based organizations. They interviewed and reviewed strategies from a couple dozen different major cities from across the US and internationally, and helped us collect that data to say, when we talk about digital strategy, where does our mindset need to be? What do we really need to focus on? And they really came up with three themes. One is we need to drive service delivery strategy with the end customer in mind and focus on re-engineering process to meet the customer needs before we automate them. And number two, we need to create an intentional focus on equity and inclusion and bake access and equity and inclusion into the service delivery design as we re-engineer them, so we actually know what the impact on equity is of city processes. And then third, adopt a digital-first mindset, focus on outcome and resident feedback. And these approaches need to be applied across all of our service delivery platforms, so including our in-person, our call center, our website, our chatbot, virtual agent, web portals, and the San Jose 311 app. One of the channels, of course, is sanjoseca.gov, our city's website. And I'm now going to turn it over to Trevor Gould to talk about some statistics related to our website.
Much appreciated, as always, Jerry. Good afternoon, Chairman, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, committee members, and members of the public. My name is Trevor Gould. I'm a Senior Executive Analyst in the City Manager's Office of Communications, focusing on analytics and marketing. Want to touch very briefly on some high-level digital performance metrics for 2020. Website visitation was up 22% year over year from 2019 to 2020. This represents about 1.3 million additional visits. You can see here that we've highlighted our top 10 most visited pages. Collectively, they comprise roughly 58% of total website traffic. As many of you are aware, our website has played a vital role in emergency outreach, especially when it comes to COVID-19. So we've highlighted a few relevant statistics in the third pane here. And we also wanted to touch on how our resident assistant chatbot was used over 46,000 times with an answer success rate of 82%. which is slightly higher than our internal goal of 80%. So next slide, please. Wanted to fast forward to the present and take a look at another metric, and that's average session duration. And that's exactly what it sounds like. What's the average amount of time that a user is spending on a specific page or a specific group page? So what we wanted to look at was which page groups have experienced the greatest increase in average session duration from 2020 to 2021 year to date. And so we ran the analysis and we put a few of them up here. The scatter plot, by the way, the dot size is representative of page visitation for 2021. But essentially, some of the page groups that have experienced the largest increase in average user browsing time include PBCE, our VLAC pages, ESD JUN pickup for all the reasons that we've previously discussed and will be continuously discussing, and Business Coaching Center. And we have a little bit of info here in terms of explaining that increase. And additionally, if you look at the scatter plot, a few of our districts, the mayor's office. So we have several pages that these are our top 10 that have experienced the greatest jump in average user browsing duration. Just thought it was an interesting metric. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to my esteemed colleague, Matt Opsal.
Thank you, Trevor. As we've learned and heard from former city employees and accessibility advocates like Pacific ADA, accessibility takes practice and repetition. For the next 2 slides, I will provide a description of each slide as an example of accessibility in practice. On this slide, titled Accessibility in Digital Services, there's a bulleted list with black text over a white background. There's a bar chart graphic on the right side of the slide titled Web Accessibility Rating that compares the City of San Jose website accessibility rating in teal on the left, next to the industry benchmark for government websites in dark blue on the right. Using a third-party compliance checker, the city website has an accessibility rating of 89 out of 100, which is 15 points above the government industry benchmark of 74. We will continue to improve accessibility citywide. Accessibility starts with contractual language to ensure compliance and must also include training sessions with employees, best practices, and guidelines to reinforce compliance and content creation. The San Jose 311 team recently kicked off an accessibility assessment to improve accessibility for the San Jose 311 portal and application. When this important work has completed, the lessons learned and best practices from San Jose 311 will be utilized alongside the trainings, best practices, and guidelines from the city website to become digital accessibility models for future city digital services. Next slide, please, Jerry. Thank you. This next slide has black text over a white background and is titled Web and Digital Services Governance. There's a graphic of a human-like figure running between gears and another graphic with a cloud and a computer with arrows pointing from the cloud to the computer and the computer to the cloud. In launching the new City of San Jose website, the updated intranet, the rebranded San Jose 311 service, and so much more, we realized that the current website governance policy, City Policy 1.7.9, wasn't going to lead us forward in a comprehensive or collaborative way. While the current policy provides a strong foundation and content standards for the city website, the policy falls short in providing standards for governance for transactional applications, business process automation or BPA, assistant technologies like chatbots and virtual agents, and enhanced language translation tools. Past digital approaches focused on the simple push of information out via the city website, intranet, and social media channels. With the city's drive to digital as a catalyst to further align the city's internal and external digital strategies, and with the great work and analysis completed by the Harvard Business School Community Partners, or HBSCP, we need a policy that better reflects and governs a unified digital strategy. Updating the website governance policy to cover the website and digital services will help the City of San Jose more clearly articulate a consistent decision-making structure, cadence, and roles and responsibilities related to the city's omni-channel approach to informing, engaging, and providing services to residents and users. The outcome of this policy will ensure that website and digital service users can find and use information quickly, easily, and intuitively, and users can conduct digital transactions with a high-quality user experience through digital service portals and applications. This updated policy will continue to ensure that staff responsible for maintaining websites and digital service applications will keep them current, accurate, maintained, and useful. Once the updated policy is in place, we will convene an internal advisory board on a quarterly basis to increase collaboration and input from departments. We anticipate this updated policy will go live before the end of June. Thank you for your time today. Jerry, back over to you.
Sure. So at the same time that we were focusing on the Powered by People effort and our digital strategy, we also were making significant progress on our San Jose 311. Specifically, we focused on the San Jose 311 app, our website, the call center, the virtual agent, and the web portal. Just to take us back again, this graphic shows the importance of fulfilling what a customer actually wants through the app to achieving customer satisfaction. And we've been focusing on that a lot, and that involves setting strong service levels and expectations with our public, letting them know what the messaging is and being consistent about that, and then providing that, and in the end, addressing the concern or the request that they actually had. And those are the keys to actually creating satisfaction. Or as I tell Rob often, imagine if we would use Amazon if the box never showed up. The next slide here then talks about total reports and active users. Michael showed this already. But what we see here again is an increase, and we will show the cause, or at least what we believe to be the cause behind some of these increases in following slides. But to highlight again, we saw some flatlining when we went live to about 165,000 reports and about 35,000 users. We've now seen that increase over time, even though we did see some lull in action during the initial start of COVID-19, and we also saw a drop, as Kip pointed out earlier, related to addressing with the spamming issue that we were seeing. Here's a slide that actually shows the server or the request by type of service. So other issues, which we plan to unpack more and get data on this in the coming months as we seek to expand San Jose 311, is the #1 service. Then in second is graffiti, third is abandoned vehicles, then illegal dumping, then streetlight outages, and then potholes. I'm going to focus now on the service that we just added to the app on March 2nd, which is resident garbage and recycling service. So this service is on track right now at averaging about 6,000 requests per month to actually take second place in our most popular services that we provide. You can see on the right hand side that junk pickup is the most, so large scheduled junk pickup is the most requested service at 13,528 in the last 3 months since it went live. Then container issues, miscollection, and then start of a new service, and then garbage and recycling. We've named this slide moving beyond complaint-based reporting, because we believe that the popularity of this service is because this is actually a service as opposed to a complaint. It actually is providing something very core to what our residents and all the households in it need, and that is to deal with things that are surplus and removing items that are no longer wanted. In addition to adding that new service in March 2nd, we also made significant improvements in stabilizing the app. We dealt with some data synchronization issues that were occurring, and again, some false requests that were coming in to the tune of 6,000 to 8,000 per month that we were seeing, and we did a replatforming of the app. We also, as part of that replatforming, positioned ourselves to be able to adjust the messaging in a configurable way so that we would no longer have to hard code those messages and actually pay a vendor to do that. What that resulted in was immediate feedback. So just to kind of say this pretty loudly, because this is a pretty powerful graphic, in 2020, 69% of our users described their experience through SJ311, the app, as poor. In 2021, that's flipped. 68% of our users are now saying their experience was excellent to good. We've had a complete flip in our customer satisfaction, which is probably one of our most powerful statistics. We also added the language translation through machine learning. Auto ML is the technical terminology. Essentially what this is two-way automated translation in Spanish and Vietnamese. to the natural language of the caller, or sorry, the user of the app, and back to English for the people responding to it, and then back to the natural language. And although the initial months we did not communicate, the numbers were pretty low. We are starting to see a pickup. The numbers are still low. We continue to work on this, as we believe that the machine learning approach to language translation is a key to future platforms, and particular to our website. We're looking at integrating with that so that we can provide greater access and contribute to equity for the city, especially for those who have a hard time reaching our city services because of limited English proficiency. I'm going to turn it back to Trevor now to talk about how we got here and what we're doing to increase community outreach.
Thank you, Jerry. So this is essentially the culmination of everything we've been discussing in terms of SJ 311 to bring it way back. As many of you will recall, fall 2019 to spring 2020, we worked with a very talented group of Google.org fellows that were helping us optimize SJ 311's omni-channel approach. And another component of that was rebranding it. And so we had the privilege of working with some very talented Google graphic designers. And then we had that great press conference on March 11th, 2020. And that was right during the onset of the pandemic. And so then we had to obviously shelve the campaign. But a few months ago, we reconnected with Google.org. It was nice seeing and speaking to many of them. And we're able to take some of the creative that was initially put together, including the SJ311 logo, the rebranded logo, and deploy it in a small campaign. Next slide, please, Jerry. And so what we decided to do is we decided to focus on equal parts print and digital. In terms of the language breakdown, 40% Spanish, 40% Vietnamese, 20% English, 3 billboards, 28 bus shelter ads. And the other thing though is there's the print component, but there's also the geofencing component in which within 500 feet of any of these physical print ads, a digital ad would be served. And so if you were served a digital ad promoting, a Spanish ad, it would take you to the Spanish translated version of SJ311. We are still, in the process of receiving performance data, but we know at this point that we've surpassed 500,000 impressions, and per click-through rate standards for this type of thing, we're about 80% higher than the industry averages. And so we're still evaluating all that, and we'll hopefully be able to come to all of you in the future with more. So that's it. Thank you.
So we thank you for all of the team members for the presentation. This is the end of the report. Kip.
Great. Thank you, Jerry, Kelly, Trevor, Matt. I hope I didn't miss anyone. Clearly a team effort and a lot of great collaboration happening around service delivery, and really awesome to see those customer satisfaction ratings just completely flip over the last year. That's exciting. I'm sure we'll get into that. So why don't we head over to public comment? I think we've got a couple of hands up, and we'll start with the person calling in.
I get real nervous when I hear about how smart this city is. It's not. The 311 app is terrible. I mean, it used to be My San Jose. I mean, I wish I had San Jose. If San Jose was mine, it'd be a lot different. Anyway, 311 doesn't work. Anyone listening, don't listen to what they say how great it is. Just call 311 and talk to the kind people who man the phones for 311. They're wonderful people. I don't usually have anything good to say about this city, but the people who pick up the 311 calls are on it. They're courteous, they're kind, they're funny, they take down the information, they're quick. But this app, you guys are going to try to hide behind an app. You guys can't keep the Rose Garden fountain running. I can't imagine what it's going to take for you guys to maintain the software on this app. I got a state-of-the-art iOS, Apple phone, doesn't work. It's a pile of you-know-what, all right? So you guys got to get your act together and make it so the app works. I'm never going to use it again. I deleted it a long time ago. Tried it again, didn't work. Call 311, everybody. And the other thing that's not smart about this town is the San Jose Police Relations Twitter feed. They can't even spell the word heroes on Memorial Day when they tried to ride the coattails of our people in the armed forces. I wish San Jose PD wouldn't try to join that because, well, they're not members of the armed forces. They have their own week before. So get it together. Your website, not good. 311 app, not good. There isn't anything good about the electronics things that you guys do. It's ridiculous. You guys are bragging that people are saying it's good. I want people like me to call in and say what their problems are that they've had with 311 and the website, because it's terrible. And that includes us.
Thank you. Great. Blair.
Hi, thank you. Blair Beekman here. Thanks for the words of the previous caller, and that he nicely commented the work of 311. It's nice to hear some positive ideas of what 311 can be. I wanted to comment on your presentation memo that was in the city agenda today. On page 6, you offer a page called Digital Strategy Objectives, where you work towards internal objectives and external objectives. And your internal objectives is working within the city, and it's a lot of what you talked about today. And external objectives talk about how informal and engaged residents can be an inclusive access are important concepts. And in the middle, bridging these two ideas is the concept of strategic outside information coming in from residents, and execution from inside out, execution from outside in, resident-led and employee-led. Those are your two goals. So basically, your group is talking internally, you're talking about basically the ideas of, I think is how open public policies can help facilitate all sides of future dialogue between city government and community. And it is just a wonderful tool to help the process along. And, you know, it gives ideas of democracy, peace, good practices, and it creates that neutral space where we all can talk about our good ideas and ideals. And you're talking about that now within city government. Thank you. And good luck in continuing those good efforts.
Thank you. All right, let's come back to the committee. And Kip, before we take any questions, did you want to add any context?
No, I'm good.
You're
I'm
good.
good.
Okay, got it. Okay, great. Mayor.
Oh, thank you. Came quickly on that. Really appreciate, again, another great presentation. Kelly Parmley, really appreciate your enthusiasm for slaying red tape and getting through processes that are challenging. I know it requires tremendous enthusiasm for that battle. So thank you for all that you're doing. I had a question, I guess an obvious question that you might have expected. I think, Jerry, when you were presenting, which is the 75,000 other services, that the catch-all in the 311 app, which I know you immediately focused on, because the big question is what's not there that people really, really want, right? Just at a high level, can you give us a sense?
Yeah, at a high level, I can actually. In those numbers, and we need to continue to monitor those. We know that actually we were getting a lot of requests about garbage related and recycling as part of those 75,000. So it'll be interesting to see how we actually change that behavior into kind of self-service. We know that that's a big bucket of those. We actually, Kia O'Hara, she's the division manager over the contact center. She's actually going to start pulling statistics on the calls coming in also, where they actually get other requests, and the call handlers report those into the SJ311 app too, and to start to put types of those services in, so we can start getting better information on that. We do know recycling and garbage was part of that, but we need more data, and so we do have a strategy to get that data more clearly.
Okay. Let me add to parks concerns, parks related and cleanliness items. When we did a past analysis, popped up a lot. And then fireworks periodically pops up as well.
Yeah, depending on the time of year. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I was just going back to the document, the report, looking at I guess it's on page 10 of the report, describes backlog, assessing readiness, and recently launched parts of the roadmap. So if we think parks is fairly high on that priority, is there, oh, wait a minute, integration of park requests is in the backlog category, it looks like at the bottom. Is
Hey,
that right?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I may, so that prioritization was done using the weighted shortest job first exercise, which actually front loads those that are easier to add and have community value. There's 4 measures that I won't go into that actually go into prioritizing that. The reason that park concerns actually fell to the left in the backlog is because, again, we have some work to do on the process side and making sure that we work through those things as well.
Okay. And I see the scale. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, just to clarify that anything that's made it into this cut, we think is worth paying attention to. It's just a question of when. And so a lot of the backlog stuff needs a lot of that prior process work, not that it's not important.
Okay. So what we see along that y-axis, it says newer and older is the arrow lines. That's the only reason why we're seeing some things on top and some things on the bottom. It's just based on the age of in which the item was brought to your attention. Is that right? Or
I think that actually, Mayor, I think we probably have to take a look at that scale. We did have some of these requests date back a long time, but actually those should be in prioritization order. So I think you caught us on a scaling error.
Okay, so as I just look at the pile of stuff we have in backlog, is it the top item is the top priority? Language adapter for automated translation?
Yeah, so what we're currently assessing right now, Mayor, is the stuff in the middle. So assessing readiness. So what you can expect is, and the memo also covered that we are going to yet again look at the app and create it so we can scale a lot faster than we have. That's part of our next effort. But then after that, looking at adding additional services in. The ones in the middle are the ones that have been prioritized as ripest, the ripest fruit. To focus on, and we say assessing because we also have to look at working with our departments what reshaping a process has to happen. Then over on the backlog, it is correct that as it stands right now, the ones on the top did score the highest in terms of what would follow that. I would expect that we need to do another prioritization effort too once we start delivering a few.
And this is also something that we welcome policy feedback and direction on, because part of it is trying to, this is our internal perspective, but there are external perspectives, and especially from the electeds. If you have a different one, we're open to that direction.
Could I know this is not, I don't think you guys showed this as a slide. Am I wrong? That there are 311 roadmap? That
we did not we did not in the presentation today, Mayor.
Okay, so if I'm pulling you way off a field, don't hesitate to stop me here, but I thought it was in the report and this was kind of interesting to me. If I could just offer a critique from somebody who knows nothing about what it takes to implement any of these things and understands nothing about software. A prioritization session was held. It appears that prioritization was largely the city department stakeholders, I assume. But we've already got votes. Let's just take what Rob Lloyd said is perhaps if we took that as gospel for a moment, maybe parks requests were the top complaint that kind of fits in that category of other items, along with garbage items, which we've already now created special pathway for. But let's say it was parks requests. It seems to me that our residents are voting. And what they're voting to tell us is this app would be a lot better if there was something that said parks requests. And I appreciate that we may not have the back end yet in place that tells us that we'll be able to deliver at a high level of value here. But my concern is that is the app itself will be viewed as less useful if it is not acknowledging what is topmost in people's minds. And it seems to me that we ought to be able to communicate, for example, with a flash screen that says, hey, before you submit this, you should know that, hey, our requests are going to take 4 days to respond to because of backlogs. Or take fireworks, for example, since some of us, hey, you know, a very high percentage of our fireworks requests do not result in citation because of difficulties in identifying the culprit. You know, whatever we want to put in there, something that clearly level sets expectations. My concern is that if we're not acknowledging what the users really care most about, then we might be missing a lot. And I appreciate your really focused concern on making sure the only stuff that gets in here is stuff that we can deliver on at a high level. And you've clearly shown great success and great work in making quality improvements and improving customer experiences, demonstrated by how, you know, all the folks who are in the we hate this experience are now 68% are now in the this is an excellent service, or 68 excellent and good. So that clearly says, I mean, that validates the work you guys are doing, the approach you're taking, which is we only want high quality features here. But I'm just concerned if we really want this to be the go-to tool for our residents, then we may be too stringent in the gatekeeping. And I know I have a bias here about this whole fireworks issue. And we'll keep coming back to it. But I can't help but wonder if we were communicating in ways that level set expectations, at least we would be able to use, whether it's fireworks or parks requests or anything else, those kinds of concerns as a, for lack of a better term, a gateway drug to actually getting more engaged in other ways in reporting concerns to the city.
Yeah,
So
I
talking right.
And I think this is really fair, and we've actually had some of these debates internally, and maybe we need to bring this together to more of a policy question here, because part of we've actually done the similar flips, just to be completely candid about it, between some lower level staff perspective and some executive perspectives, where I've got, you know, because stuff has come up and you're like, okay, well, this is the one that works, and like, that doesn't seem right, and then kind of gone back a few times with it. So I think we are missing a bit of a sense of where is the existing user demand, right? What do people expect to be able to click and have happen? And of those, I'll leave fireworks aside for a moment, but of those, for example, personally, parks concerns are ones that I've known has been an issue for a long time. And every one of us has had the personal experience of going into the park and some feature that you want to use, the tot lot is off, and you know, and you're like, oh, I would just wish I could take care of this or get this report in. So I think that's actually very fair feedback. And I think what I would suggest to ourselves, if that's in line with what you're thinking, Mayor, is I think we need to add an extra kind of validation step onto this to kind of match it up with the data that's coming in and what I would call the voice of the customer data, which is, you know, where are people having the highest level of complaints and they're expecting us. And even if it's hard, what we might want to do is need to prioritize those pieces for additional process improvement work and refinement, because part of what this existing prioritization is given the state of play of things, what's the easiest stuff to get out of the big gate that has the biggest impact. And so things like traffic signals are huge because of the potential danger if you don't get those out of the gate. But what this doesn't do, which you're suggesting, is say, what are the things that people want us to be doing, not necessarily the ones we're doing best, and can we improve those? So I think that's completely fair. And if it's okay, I'd kind of take that back as a do-over on the roadmap issue, and we don't even have to have direction on that. We'll just take that as yes and try to add the voice of the customer in it, especially what we find out of as Kia does her work to decompose what people are calling in and asking about and adding into that other category.
I appreciate your willingness to consider that thought of, you know, sort of the customer user demand. And I'll just say this last thing. I know everybody's really grappling with hard issues, particularly with resource constraints here. But like, I literally have been reluctant to advertise that there is a separate app for fireworks reporting, because I'm embarrassed that I'm out there talking about another app when we already have an app that's supposed to be the app that we use to report concerns in our city. And it just, you know, for a typical resident, it's like, wait, how many apps do I need to communicate to the city? So I know that's something you guys are all thinking about, but I'm really hoping that we can find ways to make this app the one.
And Mayor, if I might just jump in there, we've been having great conversations with police and fire and code enforcement. We've combed through the data on those reports. I understand what you mean about some of the app things, and Hector's been very open to looking at that. We're going to actually use that to Springbird first fix that app as a way of clarifying the process issues, and then I think, as Skip said earlier, I think we're actually getting closer to getting the process to have a real conversation about Estee 311 and fireworks.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate that means that there are going to be some functions, if we were to go that direction, some functions that we're not going to be able to provide high level of satisfaction and closure for our residents. And I think as long as we're level setting expectations, I don't lose any sleep over that fact if we know this is just hard, right? But at least we know our residents know there's a place they can go. And I think that in itself is more satisfying for residents. But I'll leave that alone. I would beat that horse. Just a question about the language, the Spanish and Vietnamese. Could we go to that slide that you had with the photographs of the bus shelter ads, which I thought were great. I'm glad that we're communicating with bus shelters.
It's actually in the memo too, Rob. Oh, okay. You took it down. Yeah, but that's okay. I'll pull it up. It's at the end here. Oh,
at the end.
Right there.
Yeah, that's it. Perfect. Thank you. Because can you give me a sense, when do we start posting these ads?
Trevor?
We started posting these ads late April. I believe it was April 24th.
Okay.
Currently, we have one billboard that is still up, but the rest of them concluded on the 24th of May.
So we ran for a month. Is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
Correct.
I guess when I look at like the numbers in terms of penetration, I wouldn't expect to see high numbers of penetration in Vietnamese language. Just what I think I know culturally is, for the most part, if you're most monolingual Vietnamese speakers are over the age of 60. And so I just know that's going to be a much harder demographic to penetrate on an age basis. But I think about Spanish speakers, and that definitely would trend much younger. And I'm concerned that there weren't many Spanish speakers using the service. And so I just looked at the Spanish ad here, and what it says is, you know, your city, your services, 3 ways of connecting. And then it describes a URL, you know, the 311, the app says A311, and then the phone. And it never says, hey, it's free to download an app where you can report all your concerns, right? Or here's where you go, please download, or something, right? It just seems to be kind of that sort of background information that folks are going to generally miss, that's not actually going to engage them in the activity of signing up or downloading, which we want them to do, right? And so I just asked to think about, as we're communicating, that we, you know, messaging may matter. I don't pretend to know, I'm not a marketing expert, but just seeing this, it doesn't tell me as a resident that what I really should do is go somewhere on my app store to download this free app so that I can better tell the city what's wrong in my neighborhood. But thank you, appreciate the efforts you guys are making. And again, I know there's going to be some demographics where it's just going to be really hard because they're going to trend at an age group where we're just not going to get a lot of market penetration. But I would hope Spanish would be an area where we could do well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and really appreciate the point about getting more of these services into the app, even if that means pushing us, I think, as a council to prioritize the getting the fulfillment there, so people actually get the box that they ordered on Amazon, to use Jerry's analogy. I think it's critical that we get all of these services out there for residents to use, and to have that one-stop shop. But Councilor Cohen, I'm going to both call on you and, if I may, ask you to take over chairing the meeting, because I do have to get in the car to get to another meeting. So I'll be on the line, but do you mind getting us to the end of the meeting here?
No problem.
Thank you.
But I'll add my comments, and then we'll, if there's no other comments, we'll take a motion and close the item. I first of all, I want to agree with the mayor on this ad, because it's not clear to me that if I'm a user, I understand what my services are. What are the things that I'm going to go to this app for? What is it that, so I think that there's room to provide a little more information. While I do like the cleanliness and brevity of this ad, that got to figure out some way to get some a little bit more compelling reason to use the app into that ad. Back to the question of how we prioritize what should be next in the app. First of all, I want to say that I think there's often, what I tell our residents is that there's often value in reporting, even if you're not going to get a satisfactory outcome, because the data that we get as to where there are problems often helps us in terms of how we deploy services, where we're going to go and watch for things, how we might patrol for fireworks, for example, if we know where fireworks are happening the most. And even as a city, having data as to where the most fireworks reports are is helpful to us. So it's not clear to me that the metric of whether it's resolvable is the only metric that should be used in making that decision. Obviously, it should be a metric. But I do like the suggestion. I was even going to make that suggestion too, that some kind of expectation setting be provided in the app as well. And I think that's true even of the other services, because sometimes when something's not resolved, people, tend to feel that the whole thing's a failure, as opposed to understanding that not everything's going to be resolved. So when it comes to prioritizing, I was just thinking about perhaps some kind of heat map measurement where we look at maybe several axes as to, and when we decide what to put into the app next. For example, one is how easy it is to, from a technical standpoint, to get it into the app. That's one measure for whether that we can use to rank these different items. Number two is how frequent are the user requests. That's another axis, right? Number three is how useful is it to city staff in resolving problems to have it in this format. So for example, animal control having these kinds of reports directly in this app to help deploy them out to where they need to go could be, would be helpful. So putting that all together and figuring out where are the sweet spots amongst those various measurements might be a good approach. Just as a suggestion, I was thinking about how you determine what on that list of items goes next into the app. Because it's clear, there's a limitation in getting everything into the app all at once. I don't know if there's any thoughts on that and how you're making decisions about what should go next into the app.
Yeah, I think we'll take that as we come back, and I think we're going to do three things. One is take a look at what the criteria are that we're evaluating and make sure that among them we include the voice of the customer. Two, I do like the heat map approach, both in terms of criteria, but also in understanding geography and placement. I'm not sure that's how you intended it. But I think three, what we want to do is come back before it's set in concrete and figure out the right way to get council validation and feedback on that to make sure that we're in a line, not only from a technical standpoint, but also from a policy and priority standpoint. So that, kind of combining what you've said, Councilmember Cohen, with Mayor Liccardo's feedback, I think we'll do a pretty robust second look at the roadmap and come back with both more detail on how we made the decisions, recommendations, and then more space to play with that.
Yeah, and I think the term heat map was the incorrect one, but you're also right that geography, the outcome in terms of creating heat maps could be helpful. I'm trying to think of the name of that method for rating things on a multi-axis.
Yeah, it's like a spider graph thing.
Where you sort of figure out, it's sort of like the old one about ease of implementation versus value, and which quadrant you end up in gives you the highest. You got what I'm
exactly.
trying to get at.
I intuitively got what you're saying, but I think we'll need to go. We've done some of that. We need to make some of that visible, but we need to add in a couple more dimensions to make it more effective and bring it back for validation and opportunity to change. So
I look forward to
completely
seeing your
agree with that.
4-dimensional graph on the next presentation.
We'll give our best effort at that. We'd be happy to.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from council or from members, or should we take a motion? All right, is there a motion to approve this report?
Move to accept.
Second.
Okay, let's have a vote.
Foley,
Aye.
Ricardo,
Aye.
Jones, Cohen.
Aye.
Thank you.
And then committee member, there's a final public comment.
Yes, right. So the last item is open forum. So we'll move back to the public, starting with our call-in user. Looks like you're still muted. You're having a technical problem or. All right, so we'll come back to you. Mr. Beekman.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for the meeting today. In our good ideas, ideals, and practices that can help bring in openness, peace, and good thought for each other in this difficult time of events around the VTA, it is the positiveness of our work and intentions that is what eventually can help us better return to our regular schedules and patterns, and how we can proceed with our good community practices. To respect the ideas of morning should not necessarily have to exclude the open public process or the ending of government services. Ideas of reimagine, equity, and open public policies are actually some of our better human ideals of peace, community, sustainability, mental health, and health and human services ideas. This can be a time of healing, and that can be safe to continue to be able to talk about reimagine, equity, open public policy ideas, and to continue good local government services at this time. Good luck to ourselves in San Jose and how we can consider and bring our fears, our failures, and our alone time in mourning that we are all having back into the sunlight of openness and good thought and what can be good community practices. There should be a positiveness we can all feel and understand and try to work towards as individuals and as a community at this time. Good luck in how we do this. With 50 seconds left, I wanted to offer that to work towards open public policies with technology can be much help for people working within city government and for everyday people. To work towards this openness and good civil rights, civil protections, and human rights practices really can define how to be innovative for our future. And to also offer, I think the mayor was trying to offer with the 311 sign at the transit stops that, you know, even though you have demographic proof of things, to have Vietnamese language a part of the 311 in the future can just make something more clear and accessible, fun and understandable and open to everyone. Good luck in these efforts. Thanks.
Thank you. And now back to our call-in user. See if we can get you this time. So you need to push *6. All right, well, sorry we couldn't get to you at this time. Our meeting of the Smart Cities and Service Improvements Committee is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.